G'day guys, and welcome back to your English Aussie. Sorry for the delay getting up. We had some technical issues starting up this stream, but hopefully everything should be good, and we should be set up and ready to go. Today I'm going to start for you with my press conference updates. Got a new sort of format for the video, new format for the press conference updates. Hopefully you guys like. So yeah, and let me know if you want any changes. We'll crack on. So Game Fox, how'd you get 300 subs in 3 days? Not been 3 days, mate. It's been a couple of months grafting through, but I think we're up to around 550, 600 subs now. 646 subs. So yeah, it was going well. Please, if you are watching, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think the content's been good so far. That sort of chip strategy one really helped grow the account. So have a look at that if you haven't watched already. And if you have, thank you. Please like, please subscribe to the channel. We'll start with our press conference updates, and also, like, if you guys want some help with your like teams or transfers or anything like that, post your ID in the chat. I'll pin it now, and we can go to look at your team in detail. And then, yeah, we can go through that. I'll pin that down below in the chat now. So first things first, we got Arsenal. Bryson Calafiori are available. Zinchenko's to have a late fitness test, and White and Tamiyasu is still out. So I think the way that they'll end up setting up is going to be Timber on the right, Calafiori on the left, Gabriel Saliba in the middle. And I think that is the way where, if you do have a Timber, I think that's going to look really good. I think that is probably the most likely for him to sort of get those attacking returns working with Saka. So hopefully that's good, and hopefully that will work nicely for any of you Timber owners. Crystal Palace, Eze's injured. Munoz suspended, and Wharton is still injured. So I guess that is a bit annoying from Palace. They've sort of got that front three working quite nicely at the moment with Eze, Ismail Assar and Mateta. Munoz obviously on the right hand side has really been pushing on into those high positions, into the right wing, inverting into a 10 at some points, really helping Palace going forwards. So those will be two big misses for Palace this game week. And up against Arsenal, it's going to be tough for them, especially on the counter and that sort of stuff going forwards. Aston Villa, Jacob Ramsey still injured, otherwise no fresh concerns. Ollie Watkins is available. I don't know who's going to start for them, honestly, out of Duran and Watkins this week. I have a feeling that Duran might keep his starting place after scoring last week, and obviously Watkins picking up that slight niggle. Man City, Pep mentioned in his press conference that Diaz is going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. Stones and Akanji are back in training and possible to be able to be fit for the game. I have a feeling that you'll probably see Akanji starting there at centre-back with Guardiola, Walker playing on the right and Lewis on the left is how I imagine them to be setting up. Ake's still out injured, and Lewis is obviously back from suspension, so I think he's likely to get a start on that left back role, probably with Walker at right, and then Gvardiol, and I think Akanji at centre back. Depending on how fit John Stones is as to whether he slots into that defensive midfield role, I think he's been really missing from City in that defensive midfield role. As we talked about last week in the tactical observations, I think he's quite important when Rodri's out in terms of keeping the spacing in between the midfield and the back line. We went into a bit of detail about how City have been struggling defensively and why sort of the defensive spacing has been a big issue for that. And we can talk about that again when we go through the tactical observations in a bit. But for now, let's just continue on through these press conference updates. Tottenham v Liverpool. Udogie is available for Tottenham. That is good news for them. Obviously, he came off for 20 odd minutes last week, and Pedro Porro replaced him for those 60 minutes. So unsure how Tottenham are going to line up defensively this week. Whether Pedro Porro gets the start or whether Udogie does get the start, and they play the youngster on the other side. I think hopefully, like, Tottenham in midweek played the formation that we have been talking about a long time for Tottenham to get things right, with Maddison at attacking midfield and Kulusevski on the right wing, and I think Son on the left, and that's obviously been the way where it's kind of been the best setup for Spurs, and I think that worked really nicely for them last week against Southampton. They set up like that again in midweek against Man United in their 4-3 win, and again were good going forward. So I kind of expect to see the same setup again. Son on the left, Kulusevski on the right, Maddison in the centre, and then two defensive midfielders, Bergvall and Sarr. Probably not Bergvall. Bissouma obviously returns from suspension this week, so I'd expect to see probably Bissouma and Sarr in that holding midfield role. Vicario and Davies are still out for Spurs, and Romero and Van de Ven are still out. I think they're all, Ange noted, they're all probably going to be out until the new year. So that will be a few game weeks where Spurs are going to be struggling with that back line. They started with Archie Gray and Dragusin last week against Southampton. So we'll see who they start in that. I think their back four is up for grabs, really. Obviously not starting Porro previously. Is he going to start again? Or is it going to be Spence and Udogie now? Udogie's fit again. Liverpool, Robertson returns from suspension. He served his suspension midweek in the EFL Cup. Gamer Fox. Yeah, mate. I don't think it's been in the last 3 days, but a lot of them have sort of picked up from that chip strategy video. That if you haven't looked at those subs, if you haven't looked at that video, go and give it a view. I think people have really liked that video and enjoyed me sort of giving a view of which game week is the best game week for every chip. So yeah, give that a watch, and hopefully the subscriber count continues to keep growing going forward. Push on to 1K and hopefully beyond. We'll see how we continue to grow over the upcoming game weeks. Liverpool, more good news for them. I think a lot of people returning from injury: Jota, Chiesa, McAllister, Elliott, Tsimikas, all available. Bradley and Konate are still out. No comments on the timeline from Slot around Bradley and Konate. My view is that I don't think Konate is going to be back for a while. I think a knee injury is not something that you recover from quickly, not something that's simple, and I don't expect him to be back this side of the new year. If he's not training at the moment, I think he could be out for a while. And Slot has been quite cautious about talking about timelines in his interviews, if you have noticed, which to me makes me think that it's probably likely to be out a little bit longer than we are expecting. Everton, McNeil is a possibility to play. Dyke did say he is touch and go for the week, so we will see whether he does become available or not. No other fresh injury concerns for Everton. Chelsea on their front, Badiashile, Fofana and James are all still out, so defensively again struggling for Chelsea, and we'll see how they line up again. Cucurella is suspended, so that is another issue for them, and Neto does return for suspension, so he could possibly replace Madueke on that right hand side. Man United, Bournemouth, Mount, unfortunately, he has come out that he will be injured long term for Man United. I think that means probably 8+ weeks, couple of months out there. Luke Shaw is still out, and Mazraoui is available after suffering a little bit of a knock over the last week. Just confirmed he would be available for selection. Semenyo and Evan Nielsen available for Bournemouth. Sinistera, Tavernier and Senesi are still out. I think Man United, again, interesting to see that sort of Rashford Garnacho situation. What we're going to see from them, whether we're going to see either of those guys become available going forwards or not. It will be interesting to see if we get any news on Garnacho and Rashford and whether they might get a start for United or continue to be iced out. Leicester v Wolves. Winks is available. Samare back from suspension. Hermansen for a late fitness test, which is a little bit of an interesting one for me, as I do have Iverson on my bench, who I could look to potentially, if he comes in as the backup goalie for Leicester, could potentially look to start this week as a backup. And Didi Fatawa is still injured, and then probably the big one that you're all interested in is Matheus Cunha. As at this time, and I will double check this one more time, he is available for Leicester v Wolves. He hasn't been charged as yet. I imagine, and that wasn't confirmed, that Wolves appealed against the ban, and so that ban hasn't been put in place yet. I think realistically, like a few of the other suspensions that have happened, so for example with Tottenham and Bentancur, they saw that sort of, it went to that disciplinary, Tottenham had until a certain date to reply to it, and then after that their disciplinary, it took a while for them to actually, the ban to be put in place and then to come up with the timeline. So it could be that Cunha's even available for the week after as well. So if you do have Cunha in your team, what I would say is start him. If he's banned, then whoever's on your bench should come in. I think at this stage he is 95% likely to play. Very unlikely that they're going to put a last minute ban through. It would be really unfair on Wolves to then have to sort that out. So expect Cunha to play. The only thought being what his mindset is, whether the new manager, Vitor Pereira for Wolves, will want to include him in that starting lineup, knowing that he's going to be banned over the next few weeks. Perhaps his mindset's not quite right for the game. He's had a lot of bad press over the last week or so, and it would be a possibility that he could be dropped for the game. Ait Nouri is suspended after his raucous after the game last week, picking up a red card after the game. He will be suspended for this week, and then he will be back to being on 4 yellow cards again in the following game week. Sarabia is still out, injured, so Wolves, other than that, no more news. Some more big news in the Fulham side of things. Kenny Tete will be out for 8 to 10 weeks. Now, the interesting thing about that is that leads us on to the potential of Timothy Castagna or Ryan Sessegnon starting at fullback for Fulham. Both, I think, at 4.2 million at the moment, and could be really interesting picks over the upcoming game week for Fulham to be put into your team. I think it's likely that Castagna starts based off the fact that Anthony Robinson normally plays left. Castagna can slot in at either left or right back, whereas Sessegnon's more left-footed left back. But it will be interesting to see who they decide to start this week at fullback. And then I would say that definitely an option for Fulham as a cut price defender at 4.2 million. Both of them could be really interesting options if you haven't already transferred in Anthony Robertson going forwards. Anderson is available for Fulham, so that is a big boost to their back line. However, Andreas Pereira is suspended for this game and will miss out. Southampton front, Ramsdale's still out. He is getting closer to a return. I do remember that Russell Martin, when he was still in charge, did mention that he would be available round about the Christmas break, maybe just after. So potentially he will be back for the next game week. Walker Peters is possibly available, may play for Southampton. West Ham, Carlos Soler is suspended for the game week. I think this is probably good news. Would be interesting to see what West Ham fans think about this. I would say him playing with Paqueta in the midfield has not been a good sort of matchup for them. Again, as we've talked about a lot, about like very slow in transition defensively. I'd probably rather Soler than Paqueta in there. If there are any West Ham fans watching on the stream, let us know your thoughts, what you think about that sort of West Ham midfield and what the best lineup could be for them. Hopefully Nicholas Fulcrum could be available for them this week, which will allow Jared Bowen to sort of play in his better position in the right wing, where he's far more effective. And then it will be a choice between Kudus and Somerville, with potentially even Kudus playing in that number 10 role for West Ham, Somerville on the left. Emerson does return from suspension, and Lopetegui, as Lopetegui does, he is like Arteta's partner in crime. In press conferences, he told us that there is a player with a slight problem, but he can't tell you who that player is. So wonderful, as always, from Julian Lopetegui, never giving us any useful information. Brighton, Hertzler did mention Welbeck is unlikely to play, not unlikely, but he's not in the best shape at the moment, which to me means that he's probably slightly unlikely to play this game week. That means João Pedro is most likely to start up front, with Ruta slotting in just behind, and Matoma and Adingra on either wing. I do think that is not João Pedro's best position. I think he does look better in that sort of 9 role for Brighton. And it was really nice when they did manage to play sort of Pedro and Ruta, both behind the striker, Welbeck, with Matoma on the left, and then sort of one holding midfielder rather than the two. Veltman and O'Reilly are available for them again this week. We will see whether Veltman comes back in and reclaims his place in the side. I think Tarek Lamptey and Estupiñán have looked really good on the wings, so not necessarily will he start this week. Kadioglu and Hinchelwood still injured, as is Milner. No real news on Kadioglu. He is a very nice player for Brighton, and hopefully he can sort of push on going forwards and sort of come back into that side. But yeah, unfortunately still injured for this week. Ipswich, we have got Finners. Morning, mate. You took a -4 to bring a Madden for Rodgers. And why is Trent a big sell? I know that you've been on while I've been talking about Trent being a big sell, but I will give it again just for you. Good morning, mate. Mikkel, good stuff. Good to see you, mate. One of my mates from Estonia I used to go to uni with. Nice of you to be tuning in, bud. I don't really want to give you too much news, really, because you might beat me in our mini league. So yeah, don't watch too closely. -4, a mad for Rodgers. Interesting shout this week, Finners. I've got to be honest, I probably wouldn't have done that this week. I think Rodgers in transition against that Manchester City side might be really nice. Might be a really nice option. Either Star, hello, should I go to Iwobi or Raul? I'm just avoiding that Trent question, really, Finners, mate. Should I go with Iwobi or Raul? Look, I think I'd go with Iwobi, just on a minutes basis for me. Iwobi's pretty much been playing 90 minutes every game for Fulham. It kind of depends what your team is you start. Do you have what are your strikers that you've got at the moment, or is this you've got them both in your team and you're thinking of which one to start? Otherwise, chuck us your team ID. We'll put it into Gameweek. We can have a look and talk about transfers. Yeah, look, finish, mate. I hope Ahmad goes well for you this week. I do think Ahmad's a nice option, and obviously he's been playing in that sort of front three recently. You got Wissa, man. Don't get rid of Wissa for Raul. Wissa's awesome. I love Wissa. Wissa for me is just fixture proof, to be honest. Brentford v Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest is actually I know they've been great defensively, but they've conceded a ton of goals in the last few game weeks. If you look at their last, 4 or 5 weeks, they've conceded 1 against Villa, 2 against United, 3 against Man City, clean sheet against Ipswich, and 1 against Arsenal, 3 against Newcastle. It's not like they haven't been conceding over the last 6 game weeks. And Brentford have been super good from an attacking perspective. Yeah, Welbeck's your one. If you're going to take out somebody, Welbeck's the one. He's unlikely to start this week for Brighton. Just had the Brighton one up on the screen. They said Hertzler said not in the best shape, so I think he's probably unlikely to start this game week. So if you're gonna bring in Raul and if you're planning to start all 3 of them, I'd bring in Raul for Welbeck. Outside of that, I would otherwise if it was a choice, I would bring in Iwobi. I think Iwobi's a bit more secure from a minutes perspective. My concern with Raul Jimenez is Rodrigo Muniz may start to take some minutes off him. He's been sort of coming off 70-ish minutes, 60-ish minutes. Muniz did get a start. So yeah, a bit of a difficult one. Iwobi it is. Cool. Yeah, no problem, mate. But yeah, Welbeck's probably someone you could look to move on in the upcoming game weeks, even if you flick him over to a João Pedro, maybe a Jamie Vardy. The other person I'd consider in your midfield is Ismaila Sarr for Crystal Palace. I think he's someone that not a lot of people have been talking about lately, and someone that I put on my watch list video this week for players that you should consider as sort of differential picks that no one's really got at the moment. Maybe a bit reactionary to the past few game weeks, but you can clearly see that Palace are getting more of an identity about them. Tom will definitely get to your team in a second. You can see that Palace have got a little bit more of identity about them. Mateta's sort of doing a bit of both, dropping in, holding up the ball nicely, and Sarr and Eze have been running on past them. I know Eze's out this week, injured. But Palace have definitely looked nicer. And Sarr is definitely someone I'd look at going forward. I think Palace's fixtures actually get a little bit better from, I think it's 19, 18 they start to pick up. So you definitely could look at Sarr from 18 forwards as a potential. Tom, let's get your team into game week and we will chuck it up on the screen and have a look. Just give me a second to pull it up, mate. 681 6854. Also, welcome back. I remember seeing your name last week. Thanks for joining. Just get the right window showing because I am showing the wrong one at the moment. Alright, here we go. Victor Moses' lawn, love that. Let's see if there are any transfers you make this week, future plans. So looking at your team, you've got Aït Nouri, Gabriel, Cole in the defence. Rogers, Greaves, Mikalenko on the bench. So I mean, starting off, obviously, Aid Nuri's a big glaring red flag at the moment. In the midfield, Bowen, Salah, Saka, Palmer. That looks really nice with Rogers. Actually, that's the exact midfield that I've got at the moment. So I think nice for the moment. I think in that midfield, obviously Bowen has nice fixtures. I think maybe this week and next week, and then his fixtures sort of start to take a little bit of a dip. And that's where, for my team as well, I've been thinking about a couple of options. One would be Diego Jota of Liverpool. If he gets back into that starting lineup as a number 9, I think he's somebody that could be really interesting, potentially going forwards. The other options in there are maybe a little bit later on. Like, depends how Bowen goes over the next couple of weeks. He's obviously got Brighton, Southampton, then Liverpool, Man City. So depends who you're trying to like. And then the next sort of option I would think about for Bowen is maybe like a James Maddison, because honestly, like if he's starting for Spurs, he becomes a real differential in that midfield. And I think the way that Spurs look the most dangerous was Maddison in that 10 role, Kulusevski on the right, Son on the left, which they've done over the midweek game against United and last week against Southampton. They looked so much better going forwards with that, rather than sort of either the Maddison and Kulusevski as 10, or start Kulusevski there and Brennan Johnson on the right. He's just been like, he's just a sell for anybody that has him. So that's sort of considerations in the midfield. Up front, Cunha, João Pedro, Solanke. For me, like, I'd look to try and get Isak in. I know that's not easy with that team. It would probably, I think Cunha's obviously going to get a ban. This week he's available. They're not going to ban him in the next 2 hours, so he should play. There's a small chance that they don't get through the ban by next game week as well. It could happen. When Bentancur got banned for Spurs, it was the case that that sort of Spurs team, took a while for the ban to come into place. So, but yeah, I think I'd probably still put him as a priority to move out. If you can, I'd look to try and go to an Isak. Don't quite have the money. I can see 0.3 in the bank. So yeah, I mean, got to try and make a little bit of room there, I think, is probably your main thing, maybe to get from Cunha to Isak. That might be even moving Bowen out after the next game week against Southampton. Maybe you'd have to bring him down to like an Ismail Assar, an Iwobi, an Ahmad, an Enzo, potentially. And probably start Mikalenko in the meantime for Everton. I know that's not nice. Aït-Nouri, I guess, will be back the week after. So I think that's the main thing for me. You probably want to get Cunha out of the team as soon as that ban becomes official. Then that would be my first transfer, and I'd try and move him to Isak. So if I were you, I'd try and roll this week, save your free transfer so you've got 2, and then move Cunha as soon as the ban becomes official. Otherwise, like next week, you can maybe, if he doesn't get banned, you can think about moving Aït-Nouri to a Robinson or a Castagna/Ryan Sessegnon, whoever starts for Fulham in that right back role, or if Robinson moves over to right back, Sessegnon starts at left back. That would be my ideas for you. So I think next week, wait and see. Next game week, wait and see if Cunha's ban comes through. He's got to be a priority. Move him out to Isak, and then maybe even Solanke down to Wood, something like that. That's maybe how you can do the shift if you want to keep Bowen for that Southampton game. If he doesn't get banned next week, then you can use a transfer moving out Aït-Nouri to a nicer defender, and then still save up your 2 transfers for sort of Cunha out to Isak and then someone else. That would be what I'd go for, mate. Hopefully that helps. Finners, mate, if I have to go back to that Trent comment again, I will. I know you're trolling me, aren't you? I know you are, because I talked about it a lot last week. But if you weren't there, I will talk about it again. The reason why Trent for me is a sell really, and it's definitely an avoid for now. I think in 7 game weeks time when Liverpool have a double game week. No worries, Tom. If that helps, please cop a subscribe and a like on the vid. I think for me, the reason being is his stats at the moment are super inflated. I'll actually show you, because someone actually FPL Fran was messaged me the other day saying he didn't think they were, but I will show you why they are, because I went back and I sort of showed him this, being like, I actually didn't show him it, but I should have showed him this. Let me show you guys. So at the moment, Trent sitting on 0.34 on penalty expected goal and assist, right? Way above everybody else at the moment. But the majority of that is based off game week 1 and 2, where he put some absolute sitters on the plate for Diego Jota, who missed them, right? And that was a big part of his XG. Then beyond that, I think there was one other really big XG cross chance that he had in those early game weeks, where he was still sort of getting forwards a little bit more and hadn't been sort of reined in by Slot a little bit. Now, as we've seen from Liverpool, the way they play under Slot, rather than how they used to play under Klopp, is their fullbacks are defending properly. Their fullbacks are actually defending how they should be defending, which has mean Trent has not picked up those sort of attacking positions the way that he was before. So if you look at this, you can see expected assists in game week 1 and 2, 1 and 0.53, and those were 2 chances, right? Pretty much 2 chances on the plate for Jota. Since then, his XA/XG has not been that good at all. There's been very sporadic game weeks where maybe he's picked up high XA/XG, but other than that, it's sort of been relatively low. And then you've got the game week where obviously he got 2 assists, and in that game week it was because Liverpool were behind and he got brought on for 20 minutes specifically to get forwards and to get into those positions. But that's not going to happen a lot of times this year. Liverpool are not going to be chasing games. And if Liverpool are level, you're not going to see Slot bombing Alexander-Arnold on forwards, because the way his tactics are set up this season is to make sure that we're defensively solid, more solid in transition when we lose the ball, so that he's going to rely on our forwards to break them down and to score that goal, and he's not going to sort of panic send Trent forwards in the case that we concede on the counter at 1-0 and end up losing the game 2-1. So for me, Trent, without this, would actually sit, his XA/XG without those other items would sit right in the middle of the pack. He'd be sitting somewhere here, and I did the math, and I can't show it on screen, unfortunately. I did the math the other day. He'd be sitting somewhere around this sort of 0.18 to 0.22 expected assist lineup, which for somebody who's at 7 million is basically the same as a 4.5 mil defender. So for me, he's just not a buy at all, and it's something that's being overlooked by so many people. And I think that that money that you save on not going for Trent can be so better utilised in midfield and attack, which is where the real big upsides are at the moment. And Trent is not a big upside for me. When we get to a double game week, it's maybe a different conversation. But for the next sort of 7 weeks, I'd rather have Van Dijk. But to be honest, I'd go Gomez, because I think CUNHA is going to be out for a while. A knee injury is not something that's easy to come back with. Slot's been very coy in his press conferences about length of time for these guys and how long they're sort of going to be out of action for. So for me, I'd be really careful around picking Trent. I'd definitely try and get him out of my team, move into somebody else who has sort of better, equally as good attacking returns for a lot of these defenders. There's plenty of people that have higher XA than Trent if you exclude those anomalies in the data. So that's just a little point from me. Take it how you wish. So far, I've been pretty right about it, to be honest. So Obviously, Liverpool's defence is nice. If you want clean sheets, go Gomez. I think that's the call from myself. Finishing off those team news press conference updates. Delap suspended for Ipswich. Obviously, a tough one for them. Helps out Newcastle greatly from a defensive perspective. So those of you who have Hall, I would probably play him this week. Tuanzebe and Hurst still injured for Ipswich, so their other big striker, Hurst, also still injured. Unfortunately for Newcastle, Pope's still out, Lascelles still out, Kraft, all of them are still injured, and Wilson is out for around 8 weeks. We heard from Eddie Howe. That sort of means to me Isak is nailed on at the moment. So anybody that's looking for a striker, I think Isak is the one to go for. He's probably my number one choice at the moment, with Jackson following closely behind. And then maybe it's Chris Wood, and you'll see on my new animated slides on the bottom right of the screen, I've got sort of the defenders I'd buy, midfielders I'd buy, forwards I'd buy, and then also the sells that will keep coming through. So you will see Isak and Jackson are my top 2 picks. For forwards, Botman is possible to be back. He did play in the under-21s. I think that's sort of easing him back in. I don't think he'll start this week, but there is obviously potential. Joelinton is suspended this week, which is a big miss for Newcastle. He is really fantastic for them in transition, both offensively and defensively. Brings a lot of legs to that side, as does Murphy. Nick, K-Mate, welcome to the stream. Say hi to your folks for me. Hopefully they're watching as well. Any news on CUNHA for this game week? Is he still available for the Leicester game? Yes, at the moment he is still available for the Leicester game. I would say he is 99% going to be available. It is very unlikely that they will put a ban in, a couple of hours before the game. I think that would be very unfair on Wolves, and they'd be unable to sort of work through that. The one thing that I would bear in mind is sort of mental state that CUNHA's in, like knowing he's about to pick up a big ban. Is he mentally in the right frame of mind to be playing this game? Is there a potential that Vitor Pereira, the new Wolves manager, will sort of go without him because of the fact that he's likely to pick up a lengthy ban and they need to work how to play without him? Maybe that could happen, so bear that in mind. But for me, I think he's likely to play this game week. He's definitely likely to be available for this game week. And we saw with like Bentancur when he got banned for Spurs for those comments about Son, which was horrendous. Just stupid, really, just stupid. It took time for the ban to come into place. So I think Tottenham did appeal that ban. We're not sure whether Wolves have appealed or not. I'm guessing they appealed, maybe. It took some time for Bentancur's ban to actually go through, maybe like a few weeks. So he could easily be available for the next 2 game weeks, CUNHA. I think just next game week, obviously stay subscribed. Keep up to date with my videos. I will keep you informed during the week if there are any issues, and I'll do another deadline stream to give you the latest on CUNHA. Brentford v Nottingham Forest. Pinnock has picked up hamstring injury and he will be out for Brentford. I think that's going to be a big miss for them. He's been playing really nicely for Brentford. Vandenberg also picked up a groin injury and is unlikely to be featuring this week. Henry's still injured as well for Brentford. Nottingham Forest then use Murillo and Yates to do late fitness tests to see if they're going to be available. Murillo would be a really big miss for Nottingham Forest. He's been an absolute stalwart in that sort of defensive lineup. Danilo is back in training and will be available for them. That is some good news also, I guess, for Forest. Unsure whether he's going to be available at this stage still. Hopefully for him, they will be back. And maybe we will just go through sort of the team observations for this week. We'll talk about City United. We'll talk about all the games. We'll go through. Talk about the predictions for this game week that we've gone for. We've done our game week. Maybe we can talk about our sort of game week 17 predictions as well. And in the meantime, I'll try and get some stuff sorted for you guys. So you can see on the side the press conference news flicking up with also the buy, sells and avoids. Buy and sells, sorry, and key news. Man City v Man United. Look, I've been talked out of saying that Man United were lucky to get this result. I'd say both teams played poorly, didn't play particularly well, and maybe a sort of a draw was probably the fair result. City didn't obviously create that much over the game week. Maybe lucky to get the result is not fair on United. Ahmad obviously with a couple of moments of magic, but also some really poor defensive awareness from City. Obviously Nunes not used to playing in that role, hasn't played more of a winger than sort of a fullback, and struggling. Neil, morning. Enzo, Ahmad, Pedro and Larson, bench one. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, mate. Nishan, I'll get over to you after. Enzo, Ahmad, Pedro and Larson, bench one. Do you have your team ID? If you can chuck your team ID in the chat, sort of helps me with the rest of your team. Because, for example, if you had Palmer and Jackson, I'd probably say bench Enzo, because I think like the triple up on Chelsea's maybe just sort of a bit of too much risk for me. So maybe chuck your team ID in the chat, and I'll put your team up on screen, and we can have a look a little bit and make it a little bit easier. Otherwise, if you don't have triple up on Chelsea, for me, it's probably Stratton Larson. Don't really like him for Wolves at the moment. I know he's playing. I know his game's not too difficult a game this week, but if you chuck the team ID in there, I'll just put your team on screen, Neil, and I can make it a bit easier to look through. Nishan, sell Guardiola for Hall and Cunha to Isak for a -4. No, don't do that, mate. Definitely don't do that. Keep Guardiola, keep Cunha. Cunha's going to play this week. He's good. If you're going to spell Guardiola, also I like Guardiola. Like Guardiola's a good pick. Cunha's not suspended title, no, not at the moment. He has been he's been charged by the FA, but the ban has not been put into place yet. Wolves had until I think it was Thursday to appeal. I haven't heard whether they have appealed. My assumption is they've appealed. And similar to what happened with Bentancur at Tottenham, it actually took a few weeks for the number of games of the ban to come through. So he's gonna he's 99% going to be available. They're not going to put through a last minute ban with 2 hours to go before the deadline. It's more like the state of mind he's in and whether he's going to be available. Nishan, Guardiola for Hall, Cunha to Isaac for -4. Look, my thoughts on Guardiola really is he's so good for attacking returns for City. Obviously, the problem is now with Diaz out as well, he's much more likely to be playing in that centre-back role for them. But City's games are quite nice going forward. If they can get something to work there defensively, I don't think you need to sell him. If you are looking to go to Isak, then don't take the -4 for him. I think Cunha's a good option for this week. Roll the transfer, make those moves next week. Also, those moves next week mean that instead of going for Hall for Newcastle, you can have a think about whether you want to go into potentially go into the Fulham defence. You can see who starts at fullback. Kenny Tete's been out for Fulham now for 8 to 10 weeks. They've said he's injured. Potentially Timothy Castagna comes in for them, or maybe Ryan Sessegnon and Robinson moves over to the right back role. And those guys are both 4.2 mil, so you can save an extra like 0.3 mil by going for them. Fulham defence also really nice. Castagna also and Sessegnon super attacking defenders. Fullbacks probably even more so than Hall. And I'd say Fulham potentially have even nicer fixtures than Newcastle. In fact, I would say they definitely do have nice fixtures than Newcastle coming up. So, yeah, I guess Chelsea next week not ideal, but after that, Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, Man United, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Brighton. Like, that's pretty nice. Newcastle, Villa, after from next week, Villa, United, Tottenham, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton. Yeah, I'd say that 0.3 might come in handy for you going down to Castagna or a Sessegnon. So I think hold the -4 for this week. If you really want to sell Guardiola, you can do it. Merry Christmas, mate. No worries. If I was helpful, please give me a sub, like the video. And yeah, enjoy your Christmas break. Hopefully a good game week for you. Yeah, so Neil, if you don't want to chuck your team ID in the chat, I would say bench Strand Larson, unless you also have Jackson and Palmer, then I would bench Enzo. Yeah, I think United v Bournemouth, nice game week for Ahmad. I think João Pedro for me is nicer than Strand Larson, and then that sort of leaves me Strand Larson v Enzo. And I think like Enzo v Everton, in the way that Chelsea are playing at the moment, and the way that they're sort of like inverting. They've generally been inverting their right back. It's been like Caicedo inverting into midfield, or Malagusto inverting into the 10. But Spurs Liverpool score prediction. Great question. We can have a look at my game week predictions, game week 17 predictions. I don't have the score predictions on there, but I can give you what I think. I think Liverpool are going to score quite a few goals. I think obviously Van de Ven, Romero, both missings for Spurs in the back four are going to be tough. If you listen to Ange's press conference, talking about how like this is the way that their team play. They like to go forwards. They like to be attacking. They're not going to sit back and like defend against any teams. They want to go and attack teams, play aggressive football. That he wants their fullbacks to attack. Like that's everything Liverpool are looking for. Like that's honestly everything Liverpool are looking for. Allowing Salah to go get one-on-one. Like Son also defensively on that left-hand side. If they can expose that, I think Liverpool are definitely going to score a few goals. Whether or not Tottenham are going to score, to me, depends completely on what lineup they go for. If they go Kulusevski on the right, Son on the left, Maddison in the middle, Brennan Johnson on the bench, they're going to score. I think they'll probably play Bissouma, and I think the way they'll line up and the way they should line up, the last two games they've done this, which is what I've been calling out for them to do, is to bench Johnson, play Kulusevski on the right wing and Son on the left. They have done that with Maddison in the 10, Solanke up front, and then Bissouma's coming back from suspension this week, so he'll probably replace Bergvall in the holding role with Sarr. And if Spurs line up like that, I think they'll grab a goal. Like I think Liverpool's fullbacks like Trent and Robbo. Look, it's sad to say that Robbo's been a bit. No, I'm not going to say it. I think Robbo's still good. But I mean, Trent obviously has defensive vulnerability. He's not the greatest defender in the world. I know Liverpool have been a little bit more defensively solid just because of the way that they're making them defend better. But yeah, I think if Spurs line up with that lineup, I think they'll score. If they play Johnson at right wing, no chance of scoring. No chance of scoring a goal. Honestly, no chance of scoring a goal. Maybe not no chance. But much less likely. They just don't have the dual threat. Liverpool will load up on Son's side and just make it way more difficult to break them down. Am I that confident of a clean sheet with Newcastle? Pope out, no Botman. Yeah, probably no Botman. He might be back. He played in the under-21s midweek. I think he's probably not going to be fit. Am I that confident of a Newcastle clean sheet? I'm not that confident of a Newcastle clean sheet. I think there's a likelihood that they will keep a clean sheet. I think Ipswich have been poor going forward. Delap's also suspended this week. He picked up 5 yellows. So that's their sort of main striker out. Hurst is still injured for them. So, yeah, I think Newcastle will keep a clean sheet. I think it's as good as any chances for them. What are my thoughts on Semenyo, considering he's been transferred for Enzo or Ahmad? What are my thoughts on Semenyo? Look, Bournemouth have got United this week, and then Palace, Fulham, Everton. Like, that's a nice run of games. If you've got Semenyo in your team, like, he's taken. And I think I was watching Arne Slot's press conference the other day, and the sort of stats were popping up on the. It was like a YouTube video I was watching. Beanie Man Sports. Beanie Man, if you watch this, mate, give me a shout as well. He does the good like press conference YouTube vids, and all the stats are coming up, and it was like Semenyo had like the second most shots of all midfielders or something. Something crazy, something crazy. I don't know if that's the accurate stat, but something crazy stat like that. Look, I don't think he's a terrible option. I don't think he's the guy that I would be going for at the moment. Like, he's obviously been struggling to return over the last few game weeks, and it's not just like 1 or 2 game weeks. Like, it's been a few game weeks now, and I think like the more and more that goes on, the more you've got to say that is he like someone who you want to go for as an option. Like, I think the last time he returned was in game week 10 against Man City, and really, like, I'm just looking at him now. Like, he's got 4 goals and 1 assist, but he scored 3 of those goals in the first 6 game weeks and got the assist. Since then, since game week 7, he's been like 10 games, 1 goal, no assists. So yeah, for me, like, I'd honestly say Enzo is nice for Chelsea when they invert their fullbacks, right? So when they play, actually even more so when they have Caicedo at right back. Caicedo inverts into the midfield with Lavia in the defensive midfield, and then Enzo goes into that 10 with Palmer. Palmer obviously has been attracting a lot of the attention, and what Maresca's been doing is Palmer's been drifting out into the wider roles because teams have been sort of man-marking Palmer recently over the last few game weeks, and then Enzo sort of had a lot more space in that attacking midfield role, and that's why he's been so successful there, because Palmer's given him such space by drifting a little bit wider, pulling the man that's been man-marking Palmer, that's generally been like the defensive midfielder of the opposition team. I've been pulling that a bit wider, and then Enzo sort of had that space in there as well. My issue that I'm thinking is that it could easily be a case where Caicedo doesn't really start there. Potentially, like, Malo Gusto starts at right back this week. He then inverts into the 10, and then Enzo, because they do that. They've been doing like Malo Gusto or Cucurella on the 2 fullback roles, have also inverted into that sort of attacking midfield role, and then Enzo sat with Lavia or Caicedo in the DM role. So I could easily see that happening with the sort of defensive issues that Chelsea have had recently in their CB roles, that they could end up inverting the fullback, and then Enzo doesn't become such a nice option. Ahmad for me is a really nice option. Like, start Ahmad or Enzo. Start Ahmad this week. Start Ahmad, I would say. Yeah, look, hopefully he starts in that front 3 role. Also, FPL, MFZ. Depends if you've got Palmer and Jackson. Like, if you've got Palmer and Jackson, like, it's even more, I would say, start Ahmad. Yeah, give me. Yeah, let me have a think of that. Oh, it's a tough one. Niels, hey mate, team review. Yes, I will chuck your team in there. Is it going to show you at like 200th in the world this week? How did you go last week? You're probably going to be showing off over everyone here. 460235. Let's have a look. 87k, mate. Still very good. Still very good. Sorry, let me just get the screen up for you. go. No rush, tough couple of weeks, mate. Still going well. 87k. I'm closing in on you though now, mate. I'm 128k. I've been like green arrow after green arrow after green arrow for a while. Team review: Raya, 8 Nuri, Alexander Arnold, Gabriel, Semenyo, Saka, Palmer, Jackson, Cunha, João Pedro, Okoli. How much is Okoli? How much was his price? 4 mil. Oh, he's a 4 mil fodder. Rogers, Mikalenko. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously you hold Cunha this week. Yeah, mate, it's the tactical observations that's been doing me solid in this progress. Thinking tactically about how the games are going to go. It's been really good for me, I think. 8 Nuri obviously out, so you got 1 safe transfer. Does that mean you got 2 transfers this week then? You've taken 8 Nuri out for Anderson already before the Tete injury was announced, because otherwise, like, Castagna and Sessegnon look nice, man. Like, if they take Robinson over to the right and play Sessegnon, and if they play Castagna on the right, like, he's super aggressive. So, but Anderson also nice for Fulham, good features going up. So one other transfer you got. Yeah, I guess your other guy that you're looking at is Semenyo in that midfield to move, and then who do you go to? Few options for me, I think, at the moment. You probably don't have the money for a couple of them, and I will suggest one option for you to open up the money. You probably hate me for it, but if you want someone around that price, Semenyo, you can look at Ismail Assar, Palace. I think he could be quite interesting. Palace got a really nice fixture run coming up from next week. Again, like, I think at the moment, fine to keep Semenyo for this game week. Bournemouth v United, Palace v Arsenal. Obviously, you're not going to move this week. I would have thought Iwobi's sort of been playing 87 to 90 minutes for Fulham, looking nice in that role. Minutes really reliable. Southampton this game week as well. So definitely a possibility moving Semenyo for him. And then if you're looking for sort of a bit more upside, and I've been talking about this a lot, you can move Semenyo up to maybe a Diego Jota potentially. Again, I would say, like, save your transfer. Like, obviously roll a transfer this week. I think you'll be able to roll one maybe. Have 2 for next week. Move Semenyo up to like maybe a Jota or a Maddison potentially. Could be really interesting if he kept starting in that spot for Spurs. And then I'd get rid of Trent, mate. Honestly, I'd get rid of Trent. I'd play Joe Gomez. If you want Liverpool defender, play Joe Gomez. I think CUNHA is going to be out for a while. Slot's been really coy about how long he's out for, and a knee injury is like not an injury that's an easy injury to come back from. Not even training yet with the squad. He's been specifically avoiding giving a timeline on sort of how long they've been out for. So I think Gomez will be in the team for at least like 4 or 5 game weeks. I'd like to think that he might be in there for even longer. So definitely would consider that. Otherwise, down to a Robinson, a Milenkovic. You got a few different options in that sort of 4.2 to 5.1, maybe even like Estepinian at Brighton. But yeah, I'll take money out of Trent, mate, honestly. Like, I just think Trent's not the one at the moment. Nick, would you go 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 formation this week? Forwards, Isak, Pedro and Cunha. Midfield, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Ahmad, Iwobi. Yeah, I think that's a real tough one. You're a United fan. Do you think Ahmad's going to start in that front 3 again, or do you think there's a chance that like a Garnacho or a Rashford comes back into that front 3? Ahmad shifts back to that sort of right wing back role you've been playing. I think if Ahmad starts in the front 3, I'd go 3-5-2. I'd leave João Pedro on the bench. I know that's a tough call to make, but I think João Pedro operates nicer in the number 10 role behind the striker. Welbeck obviously being unlikely to play this week. Sorry, Neil, hopefully that was helpful. Like Jota, but too risky for festive career. I was thinking really left field with Alisson for Raya. and Timber for Trent to give me funds for Isak next week. Yeah, I think Alisson for Ray is nice. I don't think you have. I think you don't think you have to do that right now. I think that can be something that you can look at further down the line, closer to the double game week. But obviously Alisson might rise. Timber for Trent, definitely a nice option. I like that. Yeah, sorry, Nick. I think João Pedro this week v West Ham. Not the worst option, but yeah, I just think he operates better in that number 10 role behind Welbeck. He's sort of able to have a little bit more space. Welbeck sort of occupies the defenders, and then João Pedro is able to sort of run on past them. So yeah, I think I would bench João Pedro and go for a 3-5-2. That would be what I'd go for. Fabianski or Verbruggen to start this week. Fabianski or Verbruggen. They're playing each other. I think Brighton are more likely to score than West Ham. West Ham have not been great going forwards. I'd start with Verbruggen. Isak. Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying and you're watching, give us a subscribe, like the stream. Our subscriber count's going really well. I think over the last week or so we sort of picked up. We're almost at 650 subscribers, so that push to 1K is becoming more and more real. We've picked up maybe like 300 subscribers over the last 3-4 weeks. I think that sort of chip strategy video, if you haven't seen it, where I've said what game weeks are the best game weeks for every single chip, was really well liked by people. Had a few comments, a few DMs on Insta talking about that as well. I'll continue to evolve and talk about these things as things change going forwards. Like John, but too risky for festive period. Neil was thinking really left field. Yeah, sorry, we went through that, didn't we? Give me funds for Isak next week. Yeah, look, I do think Jota is risky, but I also think he's the main number 9 for Liverpool. And like, if he gets the starting role, he could get you so many points. Like, Liverpool have a nice fixture run as well. Leicester, West Ham, Man United, Forest, Brentford, Ipswich, Bournemouth, Wolves after this week. Like, Jota in the number 9 role for Liverpool there is almost, is it worth the risk? Could be. We always say this. But interestingly, like, one thing I would say is at the beginning of the season, when I did a review of like Mo Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold's FPL teams, they both had Jota in there as their midfielder, and they didn't take him out at any point. Even that one game week he was rested in like game week 5, and then everyone like panicked and was like, "Oh, you'll get rid of Jota. He's not going to start for Liverpool. He's too risky for minutes." They kept him in the team until he got injured, obviously, and then took him out. But they all thought that he was going to start, so definitely interested. Nick, he was rested in the cup games, definitely starting. Ahmad will definitely start. Yeah, I think he'll start. I think the question is whether he'll play right wing back or in the front 3, because obviously like the first few games for under Amarim. Ethan, hey mate, welcome back to the channel. -4 Rodgers to Ahmad. No, I wouldn't do it this week, mate. I think Rodgers against Man City. Man City have obviously been quite poor in transition defensively, and I think Rodgers obviously the main transition threat for Aston Villa. Emre obviously loves him. He plays all the games. For me, I just don't think that transfer is worth it. Rodgers to Ahmad. I like. It depends if you're playing your 5 midfielders if you're looking to play 5 in midfield every week, then fine. He'll play in that forward role just behind the striker, Nick. Yeah, so in that front 3, right? Yeah, if a man's going to start in that front 3, then I think you definitely start him and bench JP this week, mate. Who to start between Rodgers and Semenyo? Again, I'd start Rodgers. Niels, I just think that sort of transition role for Rodgers against Man City makes him dangerous. Semenyo's really shown me nothing. Look, Man United obviously have got some defensive issues to sort out. I'm trying to be kind to Man United these weeks because we have a lot of Man United fans watching. And also I was a bit mean to them earlier in the season. But no, like my honest opinion, Man United have got some defensive issues that they need to sort out. It's the spacing defensively for them that, you know, in that back three, they need to know how far to be apart. They need their wing backs to know how far to be apart. They need to work on the line. You know, these things come with time. Transitioning a defensive system is not easy. If you listen to Phil Jones talk about it in a interview he did the other day, it takes time to understand where to be, and then also like pressing from the front. They haven't quite got that fully down yet. I think they're still leaving gaps in between their sort of forward line, midfield line, defensive line when they're pressing. So defensively, I've got a few problems to deal with. Nice graphic, streams are getting better week by week. Yeah, thanks Nick. Yeah, I put a bit of effort in. I've been trying slowly to make improvements. It's hard, like working full time and then like finding the time to do all this stuff. Like, yeah, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy doing the content for you guys. And yeah, until I get 20k subscribers like Focal and some of these other guys, I'll keep working this full-time job. But yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm really putting in some hours behind the scenes to sort of improve the graphics. And make the content better for you guys every week. So hopefully, yeah, you're seeing that improvement. I think the quality of the streams are hopefully getting a little bit better as well. I had to do some research into that. I've got good footballing knowledge and tactical knowledge, but my technical expertise when it comes to graphics and streaming are not the best. I wish I could hire somebody to help me with that. Luckily, I had Finnis help make my banner for my YouTube channel. But outside of that, everything I've been doing myself, really, with a bit of help from. Good luck, mate. Graphics better, streaming's much better this week. Thanks, Niels. Yeah, going well, mate. So sorry, mate. I'll start Rodgers over Semenyo for me. Just that transition threat against Man City for me is why I would do that. Mazraoui to play right wing back this week. Cool. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I feel like I thought that at the start of Amarin's tenure, but I thought sort of Mazraoui and Dalot as right wing back and left wing back would be the best for them. Is that how they set up midweek against Tottenham? I thought Mazraoui started at the inside centre back role, outside centre back. Lewis, can you check out my team? Yes, mate. I will pull you up on screen in just a second, and then we'll go through it. I just wanted to quickly check out. Oh yeah, so he did start wing back and Dalot left wing back. Yeah, that's cool, Nick. That'd be great if United set up like that. I think Ahmad's gonna be perfect pick. 1966826. Quick question: are you Englishman, Australian, Aussie, and England? I am in Sydney these days. I've been out here for about 7 years now. I've got my citizenship out here, and I was born in England, so I'm an English in Australia. So that's why my timelines sync up with you a bit more, Niels. Those Kiwi days, so maybe I'm not as much of a competitive threat as the Aussie. The Kiwi. I'm British, so you sort of let me off a little bit, right? Nah, dual citizenship. I actually, my mum's from Cyprus, so here's my Cyprus national team shirt as well, which I'm going to try and get a third passport. Go for the EU one because the UK one is useless these days. Lewis Tan, you're coming up, mate. You're coming up on the street on now. Here we go. Sanchez in goal, Guardiola, Aina, Burgess, interesting. Saka, Palmer, Salah, and Mbumo, Isak, Wood, and Cunha. Rodgers, Keane, and Greaves on the bench. All right, so was it 102.7 mil, 0.3 in the bench. Finners, I'll be on you after, mate. No worries. Niels can take your advice easy as English for me. Yeah, thanks, mate. Sounds good. Good to be mates. All right, Lewis. Look, let's have a think about what I would look to do with your team. Guardiola, I think really nice defensively for attacking returns. City obviously got some good fixtures coming up. I've got him in my own team, so yeah, for me, definitely someone I would look to continue with. Aina, I like obviously Forest fixtures from now, like pretty nice going forwards until 24-ish. So I think Aina's fine to hold. Burgess at Ipswich. This is possibly where you could look to make some moves. There's a couple of interesting ones that actually, I think he's still at 4 mil, is he? Or is he? Yeah, he's 4 mil. There's a move you should make there that I think about. Saka, Palmer, Salah, obviously really nice. And Boomer at Brentford, honestly, I'd hold. Like Forest, I think have been conceding a few goals. Yeah, Burgess for Robinson's. I'm actually thinking Burgess for like Castagna. It's a bit risky because I actually think Sessegnon could start and Robinson could move to the right for Fulham. But yeah, if you have the money to go Burgess to Robinson, that would definitely be something I would be looking at. Yeah, I think unfortunately Lewis doesn't. He's got 0.3 mil in the bank, but you've got 2 safe transfers. So you could look. Yeah, Isak, Wood, and CUNHA is really nice front three as well. I think CUNHA will start this week as well. So then on the bench, Rodgers, Keane, and Greaves. What's Keane at on your? He's 4.1 mil, so you get an extra some money in there as well. Yeah, I think for me, I'd be looking at that Burgess defender role, and I'd be looking to move him on. Obviously, the fact that you've only got 0.3 mil in the bank, you've got to sort of have a think about what you want to do. I would say my options for you are look to actually transfer Rodgers to Ahmad and Guardiola to Timber. Oh, shit, alright. Rodgers to Ahmad and Guardiola to Timber. Damn, I like Guardiola. Rodgers to Ahmad, like, lovely, yeah. I think like, a lot of people are looking to do that. So you've probably got then another like 0.5 mil in the bank, so 0.8. So I think you maybe have a third transfer this week because you had 2 saved from last week. So yeah, looking at that, that looks nice. Timber in, Ahmad in. Rodgers will obviously be into your team and play, I guess. Sorry, Ahmad will be into your team and play. Who are you going to start this week? That's the question. Who are you going to bench this week, really? Could you possibly? You can't bench Chris Wood. It's between Ahmad and Bumo for me, who you benched this week. And I don't know how Brentford. I think Brentford will set up 3-5-2 again with Bumo up front. CUNHA or Ahmad? Yeah. Look, Wolves v Leicester. I actually think that's tricky, mate, because like I think like. CUNHA's like not going to get banned, right? So he's around for the game week. So the only thing for me with CUNHA is his mindset right after like having those sort of, he's been in the media a lot. He's obviously knows he's going to receive a long ban. Is the new manager at Wolves, Vitor Pereira, going to think, all right, I need to get used to having him not in my team and like maybe leave him out? Personally, I wouldn't if I was the Wolves manager. I'd be trying to get a win first game up, and CUNHA's like a very key player. Yeah, I think that's 50-50, honestly. I think that's 50-50. I think Ahmad's nice as well. I'd almost think like, yeah, I'd probably bench Ahmad, mate. I know you just brought him in. But like, I would bench Ahmad in that, yeah. And then my other option for you is I'd look to try and move Burgess. Maybe move him to like a Robinson at Fulham. Move him to either a Castagna or a Ryan Sessegnon. If you don't want to make that move this week, wait till next week, see who starts for Fulham at fullback. I suspect it will be Castagna and they'll leave Robinson at left back, but they potentially might switch Robinson to right back and place Ryan Sessegnon at left back. Both those really great attacking options. So yeah, you could definitely consider going to Robinson or Castagna or Sessegnon. If you want to go for the cheap option this week, I'd go Castagna. If you want to go for Robinson, that's fine. If you want to just wait an extra week just to potentially see if Sessegnon starts, also fine. I think that's where I'd look. Otherwise, I think team looks really nice going forwards, Lewis. Yeah, just maybe the defence to sort out. Burgess maybe Burgess, Greaves, Keane. You maybe want to look to get a little bit of a nicer rotation in there. Maybe if you move a Burgess to like a Castagna and maybe like a Keane to a Hall, if you have the money for those two going forwards, that's probably where I'd be looking. Yeah, otherwise it looks really nice, mate. I think the team's good. Finners, let's get you up, mate. What are you? 122, 1300. 8 Nuri in there. have you made any transfers this week? Yeah, so no safe transfers. So you got one transfer this week. CUNHA, Wood, Isak, I like. Salah, Palmer, Saka, Rodgers, I like. McNeil, unlikely to start this week. He said touch and go, Dyche said, so you know he's 50-50 on whether he's going to play this week. Obviously a tough game week against Chelsea as well. What website do I use for this? It's called FPL.Gameweek. It's really nice. And like what's good is you can sort of compare, so at the moment I was sort of seeing how I was doing in the Content Creators League, which is pretty good, up there with those guys. But you can see like how you're doing. You see on the left here, I've got like the ranks. You can see how close you are to a lot of these ranks. So if I'm looking for you, and like you want to try and maybe like break into the top 1 mil, you're actually only like 26 points off the top 1 mil. So I mean, maybe like a differential captaincy, not differential, but like maybe you go Palmer as captain over Salah or something like that, or you just have like one or two nice weeks. You're like right up into that 1 mil. So you're not actually that far away. And then once you get inside that 1 mil, look how close the ranks are. Like 12 points to 800k, 11 points to 600k, another 13 points to 400k, and then you know once you get inside to that top 200k is a little bit further along. So yeah, like it's a really nice FPL.Gameweek. There's a lot of like I don't use Fantasy Football Hub because I am like somebody who's just like I don't know against the machine, man. I don't want to like everyone just uses Fantasy Football Hub. I've got a bunch of free websites that are just as good. So yeah, similar situation last year. I did 44k. Yeah, I think you can climb easily. So I think looking at this team, midfield looks nice. McNeil's probably someone to think about going forwards. 1.4 mil in the bank, so you've got money to be moving on people. Mazraoui for United. Actually, I think that's really interesting because United have a nice fixture run from 21 to 27 and a nice couple over the next 2 weeks. It's really only 19 and 20 that they don't have nice fixtures. And over those 2 game weeks, like I would say Arsenal have nice fixtures, Villa have nice fixtures, maybe like Nottingham Forest have some decent fixtures, even like Fulham. So I'd potentially look at, for you, there's a couple of moves that I'd like to make. I obviously look to move Aït-Nouri. I think Wolves have come to their end of their nice fixture run, so I think he's like number 1 on the chopping block for me. He could easily go to like we've talked about, like a Robinson, Castagna, a Lewis Hall, or even like if you want to go to Nottingham Forest for like game week 19 to 25, really. They got Everton, Wolves, then Liverpool, then Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham. Which is not bad defensively, I would say, like that run. So you can go for like a Moreno, Aina, Milenkovic, Maria, maybe go Milenkovic, like 4.5. Lewis Hall, Newcastle, nice fixture run. Or like even potentially, then the Fulham obviously probably. I think my number 1, what I'd look for, I'd probably look for like a Castagna, Sessegnon or Robinson. For me, with you, I'd look to do that, and then I'd look to upgrade McNeil. And there's a couple of things that I was talking about recently. Is there's Ismail Assar at Crystal Palace, who from next week has some nice fixtures. They have Bournemouth, Southampton, Chelsea, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, United, Everton, Fulham, Villa, Ipswich. All of those like reasonable attacking fixtures. Palace is starting to pick up form a little bit, so one more game week for them to sort of prove it to us. Like I know Arsenal was difficult, and then I'd consider moving McNeil for like maybe an Ismail Assar. Your other options maybe like an Iwobi, but I feel like he doesn't have that sort of explosive upside. The explosive upside picks for me, they're a little bit more risky, are a Diego Jota and a Maddison. So I think Diego Jota, if he starts up front for Liverpool this week, makes me think that he's an option that he could be worth the risk of the minutes risk. Like he really could be worth that minutes risk. And then Maddison, again, like he's been starting in that 10 for Spurs, and I've been talking about how much better Spurs look when he starts in the 10, Kulusevski starts on the right, Son on the left. So if that continues, Yeah, I just really think. Sorry, my camera's like maybe weird. If that continues, I think Maddison's a real nice pick. I know Spurs. The fixtures are not nice at the moment. They sort of pick up from maybe game week 22, but 18 and 19 decent. They got Forest and Wolves. Like that's not too bad. Like Forest have conceded a lot of goals over the last few weeks. They need to sort of get back the defensive solidity that they've been showing previously. I know they've been picking up results, but defensively a little bit more fragile. So yeah, I think your front line's nice, mate. Hold on to CUNHA until he gets banned. Honestly, like hold on to him until he gets banned. When he gets banned, you've got options. I think your options are you go up to Nicholas Jackson. If you move McNeil laterally to like an Ismail Assar or an Iwobi, you use that money to go CUNHA up to a Jackson, or who are my other picks up front? Yeah, up front otherwise it's tough, I'd say. I would maybe look at a João Pedro. I know he's not been setting the world alight, but he's a price point pick really. Or Raul Jimenez, but I'm not certain on his minutes really with Rodrigo Muniz at the moment, so I'm just not comfortable picking him. I'd like to have players that are like quite set, so that when I do have issues, like that's fine. Like I'm not going to have multiple issues in 1 week. Especially for me and you, like we both have like a Greaves on the bench who's like a 4.0 million fodder defender. FaZe, he's not playing anymore for Leicester annoyingly. So you got to make sure that your team's a little bit more solid, because otherwise you have those situations where people don't play, and that causes issues in the team. So hopefully that helps. Finners, mate. You've taken out Nuri out for. Sorry, mate, I missed that message. I know Rogers for a man. Taken out Rogers for a man. Yeah, cool. So that's your starting lineup this week. You keep the same guys on the bench: Greaves, Mikolenko, McNeil. So that's probably not cost you any money really. So you've still got that 1.4 mil. So yeah, again, like same advice, I'd say. No worries, mate. Good to see you as usual. All right. I don't know where we were with all of this stuff, but I'll pick it up somewhere. Yeah, I was hoping to sort of flick up the press conference updates as well on the screen, but I never really got around to like finalising all that stuff before. So yeah, I think we can talk through, maybe we'll go back to talking through sort of our team observations before we get on to our predictions. Like we'll talk about our predictions as well later. Sorry, my computer doesn't want to give me the screen. Yeah, so we'll just talk through like what we saw from game week 16, what we saw tactically from those teams. Bryce, hey mate, welcome back. Start Enzo or Smith Rowe as a fourth midfielder. Enzo over Smith Rowe for me. Unless you got Jackson and Palmer, then Smith Rowe, spread the risk. Enzo on set pieces at the moment. Look, there's the potential that he that they play Caicedo in that sort of right back role, and then he inverts into the midfield and Enzo goes into that attacking midfield role. So yeah, you do have Cole Palmer and no Jackson. Yeah, that's fine. I would start Enzo. I know Fulham have a nice game against Southampton, but Smith Rowe age from just like minutes perspective, not that nice. I think Enzo's going to play like 90 minutes. He's on set pieces. He's also been getting in similar positions. And like Maresca's really stressed. He's really stressed lately to Enzo. It's trying to arrive in that box and to try and help out Palmer in that sort of attacking midfield area when Chelsea are going forwards. So yeah, like I was saying, they sort of moved Caicedo into that DM role when he's playing at right back and then pushing Enzo on forwards. So they attack in a in a. They attack in like a 3-6-1, and they defend in a like a 4-5-1, if that makes sense. So basically one of the fullbacks in like say Caicedo's at right back inverts into defensive midfield. Then Enzo in defensive midfield with Lavia. Enzo moves into attacking midfield. So you've got like 2 defensive midfielders, 2 attacking midfielders, 2 wingers. Am I bait? Nah, man. That's what happens. That's how Chelsea set up. They actually attack in a 3-6-1 role. So the way they press from the front, right, is they have Jackson at the head pressing, and they've got like Enzo, Palmer attacking midfield, and then Neto or Madueke and Sancho on the left in that 4. So they press as like a 1-4, and then behind them they have Caicedo and Lavia, and then 3 at the back. That's how they press. That's how they press, and then they slot back defensively. It's as soon as they come through that, Caicedo comes back into that right back role. Enzo drops back defensive midfield with Lavia, and they defend with the 4 at the back, 5 in midfield, and 1 up front. That's why Maresca has been so good this year tactically. Like he's just made things so different, and that's why Enzo's like in so much space, because when they go forwards, Cole Palmer drifts out wide to the right. The defensive midfielder from the opposition team has been like sitting on Palmer. Like he's been getting man marked recently. Like since that Arsenal game where Partey man marked him, a lot of the teams have done that. Palmer's been like doing what like Messi used to do, really, like drifting out to the right. Moving the players away, like not Messi, right, but like how Guardiola used to deal with Messi, like they push him a little bit wider, create space for the other players. Then Enzo's been having like a bunch of space in that attacking midfield role. That's why he's been getting returns, because he's been pushing on higher. Like he starts in defensive midfield, like that's their lineup is him defensive midfield. But he plays as an attacking midfielder when they go forwards and when they press. Palmer or Salah captain? Again, another tough one this week, but I think I'll go Salah. Like, you just listen to Ange in his press conferences. Like, he's going to keep going. He's going to go at Liverpool. Their fullbacks are going to go high. They're going to attack. And it's just what Liverpool want. It's exactly what Liverpool want. Like Salah to get his defender 1-on-1. Like Son, obviously, he's going to have to track back a lot. Like, how easy is that going to be for him? Yeah, I think Salah's definitely the better option this week. Look, not definitely. I think he's the better option. It's a close one, but I'd go Salah. I'm going Salah this week over Palmer. Are you able to see if Salah scored last season against Everton? Probably. So are you though. I'm just going to Google it. I'm joking. I'll have a look for you. We're not playing Everton though, right? Liverpool playing Tottenham. So are you saying Salah beat Tottenham last season or Everton? Which one do you want to look at? Is that what you're after? You want me to check Salah v Tottenham or v Everton? Because they're playing they're up against Liverpool playing Tottenham this week, Chelsea at Everton. Let me know. Interesting though, because I guess I mean, honestly though, last season very different because Salah scored against Tottenham. Yeah, I'll check for you, mate. I think honestly very different because the way that they set up Liverpool play tactically this year versus how they played last year, it's super different, and especially from Salah's perspective as well. And I think it's something to think about. Liverpool have actually created less chances because of it, I would say. But Salah's actually been more clinical this year than he has been in previous years, because they've been defending as a full unit. Salah's had to work back on defense. Salah's had to work back on defence against them way more this year. Sorry, this is actually a pain. And Slot's talked about it a lot. Liverpool Tottenham. Let's have a look. Yeah, penalty though. May 23, 4-3 Liverpool. Whew. May 23, no, that's the year before. Rubbish. No, 2-1 Spurs win in October. And what was Salah 4-2 win. Salah 4-2 May 6th. That was the last game in the Premier League they played. 4-2 Liverpool was the result. But yeah, it's very different now under Slot. Like I was saying, like he's obviously tracking back quite frequently, which under Slot he's sort of like not really tracking as much. Pradwell, Bruno and Ahmad, JP, bench 1. Bruno and Ahmad. I think if you've got Bruno and Ahmad, it's worth just spreading the risk and going JP and Bruno and benching Ahmad. But Bruno could also, I think Bruno might play in the pivot, so. Ooh. Would it be a rogue suggestion to suggest this? I think it would. Mate, I would bench Bruno Fernandes. Crazy, I know. I know it's crazy. Yeah, I think Ahmad will play in that front 3. Bruno potentially starts in the pivot, which means to me that sort of less attacking potential. Spread the risk so you don't have 2 United players, because if United don't score, then obviously Bruno and Ahmad both blank. So I'd go one of the 2 of them and then JP. Let's run with Ahmad's form, man. I'd bench Bruno. Crazy decision, I know. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put my neck on the line. No, that's probably not what you were expecting either. But I've got a lot of resident United fans on this stream. So if any of them want to give their opinion on whether they think Bruno will start in that front 3 or not, and he'll start a bit deeper. I couldn't tell you with Amarim's selections, to be honest. He started in the front 3 in midweek against Tottenham, but obviously like that was a bit of a rotation team. I would say he had Anthony and Eriksen and Ugarte. There were I would expect like obviously you're going to have Ahmad coming back into that team. Who knows whether Garnacho is going to come back into that team, but. Bruno will perform this game week. Look, very valid shout, but the question is who's going to do better, Bruno or Ahmad, I think is your question. Obviously Bruno's on penalties, so that's a big question mark, but yeah, you just got to think who's going to play in that front 3. Personally, I think Bruno will play in the front 3. I think he'll play with Ahmad and Højlund, and then I think he'll maybe play like Ugarte and Kobe Mainoo, or Eriksen in the pivot. You think Garnacho will start, Bryce? Man, he didn't start last week, and he didn't start midweek. I know he came off the bench against Tottenham, but obviously Amarim's had that sort of discussion lately around Rashford and Garnacho, and like. What their attitude's like, and I don't know. I just feel like neither of those guys are going to start. I don't know what your thought. What like? Are you United? I think you're a United fan, aren't you, Bryce? Yeah, like my opinion is it's going to be Bruno, Højlund, and Ahmad starting up top in the front 3. My other resident United fan says Mazraoui right wing back, Delo left wing back, which I think I agree with, having looked at their team lineups. And then like that sort of pivot role could be, I think 2 of 3 of Ugarte, Eriksen, and Mainoo. Yes, he will start. I'm convinced Peruvian will give him this opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm a United fan. No, mate, not unfortunately. I think United, like, hopefully on their way up now. Like, I think under Amarin, you definitely look like a bit rejuvenated. Like, the players are a bit happier. And obviously, like, he's obviously got a style of play which is so different to what Ten Hag had. His style of play is unique, really. Like, this is what he's like. Yeah, this is what I want. This is how I want to play. And the teams have just got to buy into that, I think. So yeah, so you think what, Garnacho and Ahmad are going to start then up front, and then Bruno's going to play in that central midfield role with probably Ugarte. So if that's what you think, then I honestly think that Bruno's like a worse option than Ahmad, because he's going to be playing a deeper role. So yeah, he might have a good game, but like, he's just going to be not in those attacking positions as much. And I think that's the thing with United. Until they sort of bed down that starting lineup a little bit, it's tough to pick. It's tough to pick. I think Imagine, like, even I was like, I wasn't sure whether he was going to play in the front three or as a right wing back, but I strongly believe Ahmad won't perform this game week. Okay, fair enough. I think he's been like United's standout player the last few game weeks though. If he doesn't perform, yeah, it's going to be tough for you guys. I do think they're obviously going to pay him a lot more attention. Like, I think he will be paid a lot more attention, because I think in that City game, they didn't really, like, Man United were just like on the counter against them, like really caused them quite a lot of problems, and I almost felt like City just didn't give them the respect they deserved in that game a little bit, and Ahmad sort of really came for them in that game, to be honest. Like, a few times, even in that Nottingham Forest game, I thought like he played really well, but he started at right wing back in that game, so they played like Fernandes and Garnacho in the front three, and then Ahmad at right wing back, and that for me is where it concerns me. Ahmad concerns me. So look, I think Pradwell, if you're still listening to us harping on about this, mate, I think you got to make your choice on Bruno and Ahmad, who you think, and then JP's the other one, and bench one of Bruno and Ahmad. My personal prediction is I would go Ahmad and bench Bruno, but look, I can totally see where you're coming from, and I really depend. Like, if I knew the starting lineup, I would tell you straight away who I'd go for. But I think like whoever plays in the front three, and if they both play in the front three, I'd probably bench Ahmad. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's really a tough one. Yeah, really a tough one for me. I wouldn't bench Ahmad. I'd bench Bruno still. I think I'd bench Bruno. But yeah, that's just my opinion, to be honest. Like, I think could go either way, but I don't like to sit on the fence. I like to give my opinion. So yeah, there you go. Bench Bruno Fernandes, said FPL, the English Aussie. He cost me 1 million points. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, talking about that game, we obviously discussed Man City sitting really deep. The defence sits a lot deeper than they've been sitting in previous games. I actually don't really know why that is from Pep. I would say that's something that I've not seen him employ before, and that has been a problem for Man City, because they've left gaps in between their midfield and defence, which they haven't had. Like, they haven't had in previous weeks, previous years, like when Rodri's in there as well. And that, I would say that is probably because he's able to sort of bridge those gaps in between much better. Whereas, like, I think the only other guy that maybe does something like that is John Stones. He's probably the only. I think, like, when Kovacic plays in that role, and some of the other players play in that role, they don't quite have the same They don't quite have the same sort of like positional know-how, is how I'd put it. Sorry, I was just fixing up something on the screen while I was talking. Yeah, they don't quite have the same positional know-how. So this is what I was saying about Man City last game week, is that the centre-backs aren't sure where to be. So positionally, they often step up. And that means sort of the right back, left back covers a little bit narrower, which we did see against United. And that sort of leaves space for the wingers. When those centre backs are sort of stepping up into those number 10s and playmakers in the gap, this is where I think Chelsea could really exploit Man City. And then when centre backs do sort of sit off, that allows the guy that's in that sort of pocket of space to turn and run at them, and that's been sort of really devastating for those guys from an offensive perspective. Yeah, let's move on to Liverpool-Fulham. So yeah, obviously poor mistake from Robertson. So I guess tactically not too much to talk about in that game week. We've talked about Liverpool maybe quite a bit, and maybe Fulham as well this game week. So we'll carry on. Chelsea-Brentford, 2-1. Chelsea set up in a 3-5-2 with Mbeumo and Wissa up front, which makes me think again like really nice option Wissa this week. And Brian Mbeumo becoming like a nicer view for a nicer option for Brentford as well, because he's able to come in there. Yeah, I've got the team news coming up along the bottom now as well. So if you have any concerns with that sort of stuff, then that will come up. Yeah, obviously Brian Mbeumo becomes a better option, I think, this week. How long have we got till the deadline? We got what, right? Now another hour and a bit. Brian Mbeumo becomes a nice option because he's playing up front with Wissa. I think that makes him obviously a lot nicer. Extra player, that was also a bit of a tactical setup because it gave them a few extra players in the midfield to deal with that sort of Chelsea inversion sort of play. But yeah, Chelsea obviously came out on top. We talked a lot about Chelsea as well. Wolves, Ipswich. Wolves, I guess, so much to talk about. New manager bounce potentially with Vitor Pereira coming in. Known as a bit of a hothead. Hopefully he doesn't watch my stream and shout at me. I'm sure you'll be very cool, Vitor. CUNHA, obviously, with the ban, he is available for this week. I haven't heard anything over the last 10 minutes, but I mean, I don't think anything's going to come up now. They're not going to ban him 5 minutes before the game. I think it's just not okay to do something like that. So, expect CUNHA to be available for selection this week, but obviously, the ban has not come into action yet because they haven't decided on the length of it. Ipswich, again, I think we talked about, still a team to target. I really think they have struggled defensively this season quite a lot. And Newcastle with Isak, and if you do have double up in Newcastle with maybe a Gordon, a Jacob Murphy, or even some of you I know have gone a bit rogue with Harvey Barnes. All reasonable options for me. I think Ipswich, again, also don't have Liam Delap this week. He's out suspended. Hurst is still injured up top for them. So that makes me also think that Newcastle backline looks a bit nicer for a clean sheet this week. If we move on, talking about that Bournemouth v West Ham game, obviously West Ham played Brighton this week. Bournemouth away against Man United. It was a really cagey game and a bit unexpected from Bournemouth because I think they're sort of a nicer team normally when they're playing at home. West Ham have been really struggling to create chances and score. I think with Bowen up front, it really doesn't help them. They've got to really hope that Nicholas Füllkrug comes into that front line and allows Bowen to play on the right wing. with maybe Somerville or Kudus on that left wing, and then like a Kudus or Paqueta in the middle. Soler is suspended this week for them. But yeah, I think West Ham maybe have it a little bit easier going forwards against Brighton. But I think Brighton could really kill them in transition in this game, because West Ham very, very poor in transition. Look out for Mitoma this game week. I think Mitoma could be somebody definitely that could come into action on that break against West Ham, like we've been talking about all season, them being poor in defensive transition, a really slow team. Mitoma for Brighton is someone who is so dangerous in that transition for Brighton. Him, JP, hopefully could get something done this week in transition for Brighton. Nottingham Forest, again, like recently, their sort of tactical setup, still a really good counter-attacking team. Gibbs, White, Hudson-Odoi, they sort of really drive, Langer, etc., like drive those sort of counter-attacking plays. I think defensively, like they've been a little bit more offensive, I would say, over the recent game weeks, and that's sort of their defensive solidity has not been as it was in the previous few game weeks. I think you saw like a little bit of a mix with Villa. Obviously pushing to try and win the game. So committed a few more guys to get forwards. But yeah, I think Nuno will likely sort of pull them back into their normal setup this week against Brentford, who've been a really good attacking side. So I think that game is going to be interesting. A little bit of an attack v defence, and then Forest looking to sort of spring counter-attacks on Brentford and get some goals in that way. Villa, again, coming off the back of the Champions League game last week. They've just been bad every time after Champions League matches. They've just suffered in the hangover. Potential for Duran to sort of play again for them this week over Watkins. Otherwise, in terms of team news, no fresh injury concerns. Just Jacob Ramsey, who is still injured for them. But I think, just struggling in the final third, really. Hopefully, potentially with Duran up front, they might push on a little bit. Newcastle improving. It's been going better for them. Their link-up play down their left-hand side with Hall and Gordon's been really nice, combining down the left. Hall's been sort of overlapping, underlapping for Gordon a little bit, creating a little bit more space for him, which has been nice. Wasn't doing that as much at the beginning of the season, obviously, like shifted in and out of the team a little bit. I think he's bedded down that left barrel role as his own now. Pope is still out injured for Newcastle. Botman did play in the under-21s midweek, but I'd expect him to probably still be out for this game, not to start. Outside of that, for Newcastle, Wilson out for 8 weeks, so he's actually looking like a really nice pick for the next few weeks. Looking like a solid pick in the side, no issues there. And also Joe Linton is suspended for this game week for Newcastle. So, look, I think Newcastle. I think that is a big problem. Joe Linton, has in transition was really important for Newcastle offensively and defensively through the centre of the pitch. But I do think Ipswich missing Delap and Hurst, they're going to have to rely on their transition football with sort of like Hutchinson in the middle. I just think they're going to struggle. I really think they're going to struggle against Newcastle this week. I can see Newcastle keeping a clean sheet, and that when we show our game week 17 predictions, we will see that. Russell Martin obviously sacked Southampton after that 5-0 drubbing against Tottenham. So potentially a new manager bounce for Southampton, but again, they're really going to have to work on their sort of setup. Ramsdale still out for them, but closer to return. Stevens is suspended for this week. Walker-Peters possible to come back. Tottenham, on the other hand, still missing a ton of players. Van der Ven, Romero still out for them. Adogi is back, and then Vicario and Davies are also out. Tottenham have done what we've been talking about for a while on this stream. Is Cooley on the right, Son on the left, Maddison in the middle. Maddison is now looking like a really nice pick in the midfield for Spurs. Cooley again in that wing role is also a really nice pick for Spurs. Be definitely people that I would look at over the upcoming game weeks, potentially to sort of get into your teams. Look guys, we've got about an hour to the deadline, so if you do want any of your team reviews, post your team ID in the chat. I will have a look at all of them. I will reply to all of your comments in the chat, and we can talk through any transfer plans that you're looking to make, etc. Yeah, let me know if you have anything going forwards. We can also talk through maybe my predictions for this game week. We've gone for a Manchester City win against Aston Villa. Look, I think that they're going to bounce back this game week, Man City. Villa have not also been in particularly great form themselves. Not being clinical in that final part of the pitch. And really the main guy that I see them causing problems to Man City is the Morgan Rogers in transition, maybe John Duran as well. But yeah, I think Man City to win, potentially both teams to score in that game is what I'd be looking at for this game week. Crystal Palace v best Cunha Christian, best Cunha replacement, got Isak and Pedro thinking Wood or Solanke. Look mate, hold Cunha this week. He's going to be playing. It's going to be against Leicester. I think that's a good game week for Cunha. Well, look, he's available for selection, I think is the thing. If you chuck your team ID in the chat as well, we can get your team on screen, mate. And we can have a look at what sort of best replacements are and sort of my thoughts going forwards for your team, what you can look at for transfers. But yeah, what I would say on Cunha is he is available this week. He is banned, like he has been charged by the FA, but the ban hasn't like come through as to how many games he's going to be banned for. Same sort of thing happened with Bentancur at Spurs. Like Tottenham appealed against the ban. We think Wolves have appealed, but we're not sure. And then it took maybe like a few weeks before actually like the number of game weeks for Bentancur had been made official. So yeah, I mean, expect Cunha to be available this week. Whether he's in the right mindset and frame of mind, and Vitor Pereira starts him, knowing that, I'm not sure. I would if I was Vitor Pereira, start him. All right, let me pull your team up on screen. 4-5-5-2-1-9. And you will keep Cunha for this week. Alright, so for next week replacement, we've got Isak and Pedro thinking Wood or Solanke. I'd definitely go Wood over Solanke, but let me just pull up this and then we can talk through why as well. So yeah, looking at your team. So you've gone Aitnuri to Robinson this week and Semenyo to Ahmad. So yeah, you probably got about 0.5 in the bank, something rough, 0.4, 0.5 in the bank, something roughly around that. So yeah, Robinson, Pedro Porro, Aina, Palmer and Bumo, Salah, Smith Rowe. I don't see Semenyo in your team. You sold Smith Rowe to Ahmad? Is this the right thing? 4-5-5-2-1-9. Is that your team ID? 0.7. Doesn't look like it, actually. No Cunha in your team. I don't think that's the right team ID, mate. Do you mind just double checking? In the meantime, I'll keep talking for you about what I would do. Yeah, I think, look, going forward, if you've got 0.7 in the bank, you're looking to move Cunha out to somebody. I think for me, Chris Wood is a nicer player than Solanke. If you look at Solanke, actually, like sort of over the season, his highest points scored in any week is 6. He's never managed to really pick up bonus points for Spurs. It's mostly due to the fact if Spurs are scoring, they're probably winning, which means the other team's probably counter-attacking, which means their wingers are going to be a big threat for them. On the other side of things, like Chris Wood obviously has just been like run away from Nottingham Forest, like point to point to point. He's obviously scored 10 goals this season for Forest, and yeah, maybe not statistically he's up there with the big dogs, but he is somebody who is tactically for Nottingham Forest, like right at the end of all of their moves, like who they're aiming for, their target man, that's the guy they're looking to get into play. And Nottingham Forest, from a fixture perspective, if we look at their fixtures from an attacking perspective, they got Brentford, Tottenham, Everton, Wolves, like all of those you can see them scoring goals in. Then Liverpool, and then Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton after that to 24. So from an attacking perspective, Chris Wood's got some like quite nice fixtures, whereas Spurs probably for the next 5 weeks not too easy. They got Liverpool, Forest, then they got Wolves, and then they got Newcastle, Arsenal. Before after that, then they get on a nice run from 22 to 26 of Everton, Leicester, Brentford, United, Ipswich for Spurs. Yeah, but for me, like I definitely wouldn't look for a Solanke. I think for sure I'd be looking at Chris Wood. Also nicer because it's a bit of a cheaper option for you. I think you probably don't quite have the money to go up to Nicholas Jackson. Otherwise, I'd say I'd love to have Nicholas Jackson in at the moment. Like I just think Chelsea looks so good going forwards. If you look this season at like goals scored, they're the top scoring team in the Premier League. They have scored 37 goals this year. Next highest Tottenham in 36, then Brentford 32, Liverpool 31. So yeah, Jackson and Palmer are really nice. I'd love to have them both, if I could, in my team. Yeah, so that's probably my shouts, Christian. Hopefully that's helpful. If you enjoyed, give us a sub, give us a like on the stream. And if you want to chuck your proper team ID in the chat, let me know. The way to find that is if you just go to points on the Fantasy Premier League app and look at the top of the screen. It will pop up as it'll pop up on screen. Lewis 5142221. Let's have a look at yours, mate. We were running through your team earlier, weren't we? What did I say? Christian will get straight back to you after this, mate. Just pops Lewis on, and then I'll get yours on in a second. Lewis, hopefully this is you, mate. Mofta Engam. Feels like to me this is also like a different ID. Anyway, Aina Hall, Milenkovic, nice back three. Gabriel on the bench. Wow, with Mitchell from Palace. This is different, and I like it though. Enzo, Matoma, Kulusevski, Gakpo, Isak, CUNHA. Oh yeah, Gakpo's a forward in this game, isn't he? Gakpo, Isak, CUNHA, Kulusevski, Matoma, Enzo, Bruno Fernandes, Onana. Mate, this is like so different as a team, but like I sort of love it. Like, especially for this game. Like, I mean, yeah, no Salah. Like, it's a bit tough. But man, if you could go like, if you could just have Salah, I could run with this team. I could run with this team with just Salah. And look, if you don't want to do that, then honestly, like, I couldn't tell you many changes that I would make to this team. Like, it's obviously like a differential team. Like, you're likely to, if the big guns of Salah, Palmer, Saka don't perform in the game week, you're gonna do really well. If they do, yeah, you gotta hope you pick the right captain. Obviously, you did last week, so good game week for you. Oh, you got Salah in here. Sorry, I missed it. Mate, this team just gets better. Yeah, tough one this game week. I'd probably bench Gakpo. I have a feeling he was not going to start this week. He played midweek. Luis Diaz didn't play. I think Luis Diaz will start on that left. I have a funny feeling Jota's going to start number 9. So I'd probably bench Gakpo. I'd play Bruno. I I'd play Gabriel and I'd bench Milenkovic. Oh, I'd bench Einar. I'd bench Einar. 4.1 mil in the bank. That is mental. I love Kulusevski as an option. Mitoma for this week, I would keep. I think he's a really good matchup for Brighton against West Ham. West Ham really poor in transitional play. Mitoma's excellent transitionally. He could be a great pick. Nice fixture again next week against Brentford and Villa. Arsenal, Ipswich. Probably keep Mitoma over the next few weeks. I love your midfield. Honestly, like I wouldn't even move to a Palmer or a Saka. I just hope for the best. I don't think you really I just don't think you need to make many changes. Honestly, Gakpo is the one for me that I don't love, but again, having your Liverpool forwards nice as well. Going towards the, you're going to move out of Cunha to Nicholas Jackson. That covers Palmer really for me. Move out of Cunha to Nicholas Jackson, and maybe swap out one of those Forest defenders to a Fulham defender for their nice fixture run. Otherwise, I really like it. I wouldn't make any changes. I don't think you need to. If you're going to be attacking with your transfers, maybe even Kulusevski to Maddison. But I love Kulusevski as well. Really nice team, mate. Very interesting. Christian, let's get you up, mate. I sort of really like that. I really like that team. I like to see different stuff. Captain Salah as well. Christian, here we go. 914k, mate. You are 5 points. You can see it. 5 points away from 800k. 16 points away from 600k, and only 29 points away from top 400k. So a couple of good game weeks here. This could make all the difference for you. Christian, right? Let me remember what you said. Semenyo to Ahmad, you've done. Nice. And Nuri to Robinson, you've done. Nice. So this, you've got Trent. Mate, you haven't heard my discussions about Trent. You've got one save transfer, but you've done 2 this week, so you probably have no transfers left now, I'm guessing. But then, if we're talking about going forwards, best Cunha replacement, I'd probably say best replacement Nicholas Jackson. If you I honestly think Cunha could play the next game week as well. His ban might not come through in time. If you can wait, I would say go Cunha to Nicholas Jackson, and downgrade Trent to anybody that's not Trent. And if you haven't heard my spiel about Trent so far this year, I think everyone's overlooked this. Nobody's noticed this at all. A lot of his data, everyone talks about statistics and data, and Trent's maybe 0.3 for expected assists, but that 0.3 is based off game weeks 1 and 2, where he had some and I watched all the Liverpool games, so he had these chances for Jota, which he basically put on a plate, right? And you can see it's 1 XA and 0.6 XA, which Jota missed. And then in the most recent game, one of the recent game weeks where he got 2 assists, he only had super high XA because basically Liverpool brought him on in a super attacking role, which he's not playing this year. So from a tactical, you've been rating his direct free kicks, yeah. Direct free kicks nice, but he's also come off corners. McAllister started to take corners for Liverpool as well, and that's another reason why his XA is higher. If you look at defenders who take corners like a Luca Digne, their XA is actually higher than all these other defenders that don't do that. So again, also slightly inflating his XA. So look, this is my thinking. Tactically setting up, which not under slot, it's really different how they set up under Klopp. Trent's playing a much more defensive role. He's not getting forward into those advanced positions as much. He's not underlapping into the box, almost no touches inside of the box. And he's just not that much of an offensive threat anymore in open play. Slot has made a real point of defending better in transition for Liverpool, and that's why they've been better defensively this year, and they conceded less goals because both their fullbacks have been better defensively, positionally. And Salah's also been coming back, and their wingers have also been getting back into shape. So also why actually Salah's had less chances this year, but he's been way more clinical. He has been unbelievable this year clinically. And so the game week that he did get the 2 assists for Trent, it was because he came on late in the last 20 minutes because Liverpool were behind, and he was in those attacking positions because we were chasing a game. There's not going to be a lot of time this year where Liverpool are going to be out chasing games, because it's likely they're going to be in front or they're going to be level, and when they're level, he's not going to force his fullbacks on. He's going to trust in his attacking players to break the other teams down and make sure they're solid in transition so they don't get caught on the counter-attack and lose the games. And that's the way that Slot's setting up this year, Liverpool, and that's why Trent is actually an absolute middle-of-the-pack asset. And for 7 million, that price is just better spent in the midfield and the forward areas where the upside is so much bigger this year. And Above Average FPL did a really great podcast on bonus point system and why midfielders and forwards are getting more bonus points this year. So I think, I can't stress enough that it's so important to spend your money better in the midfield and the front line. At this moment in time, definitely the midfield. So yeah, for me, like, that would be my suggestion. But look, people have different ways of playing the game. If you want to keep Trent, like, he does have offensive upside, he does take offensive free kicks, I agree. But like the other things where in previous seasons is why he's priced so highly. Nowadays, for me, he would probably be like 6 million defender, I would say, is probably where he should be. Like, I'd rather have Joe Gomez at Liverpool at the moment, because I think Konate is going to be out for a while. If you want a Liverpool defender, knee injury is something that you're not going to come back from particularly quickly. Slot's been particularly evasive in talking about how long Konate is out for, and he's not back in training even at all yet. So yeah, I'd get Gomez, but personally, I'd downgrade Trent. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I'd go CUNHA to Wood. Figured to have good team value, so TA was a move ahead of the pack that others couldn't buy. What are you, 105? That is mad. Yeah, man, look, if you have that team value, if you go for Trent, fair enough, man. I think your team's pretty nice. I mean, you don't have to worry. Oh, yeah, again, like, I wouldn't worry too much about that. You and Semenyo and Mount. Yeah. You got Mizrahi on the bench. I think you're fine, man. It's just for me, like, if you need that extra money in future, he's probably where I'd look to downgrade rather than other players. I think when Konate comes back, Konate is definitely the pick of that Liverpool defence. But yeah, otherwise I think CUNHA up to Wood is fine. Totally fine. Totally fine move. That's where I'd go if you can't get to Jackson. But I'd like to get to Jackson because I just think he's a nice option. Cool, hopefully that helps, Christian. Please give a sub and a like to the channel if that was helpful. Help me grow. Still a small channel, which is why I can reply to your comments. Gameweek 17 predictions. Run through the rest of them. How long have we got to go to the deadline? 45 minutes to go to deadline. I will obviously, yeah. So thanks, mate. Thanks for the sub. I'll keep giving out the good content throughout the week. Various things coming up, and now we're off for Christmas, so I can actually be around. Played Colwell, Anderson, Colwell, Chelsea, Everton always. Against Everton, always played defenders. I think just not a good attacking team. Fulham v Southampton, you just don't know how Southampton are going to be. New sort of manager, new team set up. Definitely Colwell, Micah for me. Don't think too much about it. Yeah, deadline's 10 right? Oh, whatever the time is. Okay, yeah. 45 minutes to go to deadline, guys. So chuck your team IDs in the chat. I'll put them up on the screen. We can talk through your teams. I can suggest transfers to look at in the future. We've done quite a few guys today. It's been good. Lots of engagement. Been really enjoying the stream. So yeah, chuck your team IDs in the chat, and I'll put your team up on the screen, and we'll talk through suggestions for transfers, etc. What I'd look to do. Yeah, any transfer plans or benching conundrums, chuck them in the chat, and I will answer everything that comes through. For now, is there anything else that I'd like to, other than this, at the moment? Is there anything else that I want to chat with you? Maybe watch list. Maybe we can run through my watch list of guys for upcoming game weeks. Maybe the buy, sell, holds. we can go through. But yeah, maybe just talk through these quickly. Palmer to return, I've gone for Chelsea-Everton. I just think Everton are going to be playing diagonal long balls as they normally do to sort of Calvert-Lewin, and Chelsea are just going to keep pumping at them. It's just going to be an offensive flurry, and yeah, I just think Palmer's surely going to get something. Brentford v Forest, it's going to be a game of like both teams' sort of style suits the other team. Brentford fast transition pace, Forest fast transitions pace. You're going to see a lot of Forest trying to counter-attack Brentford. I can see Forest winning that game, but I definitely see Brentford scoring. But definitely can see Forest winning that game. Man United Bournemouth, I went for a draw. I think United have been looking better recently, much better to be honest. And yeah, I'm looking to. I think they might get a game, might get a couple of goals. Bournemouth again defensively have been scoring goals, so yeah, I think this will be a scoring draw. I think both teams to score as well. Fulham v Southampton. Obviously Southampton with a new manager, but just don't have a lot of ability in that side. I just think Southampton are a lock for going down this season. Just not a lot of ability in that side. Okay, hi mate. Would you do Flecken to Henderson or Alisson or neither next week? Team ID is 34321 if it helps. It absolutely definitely helps, and that is a very early team ID, and I'll get you up on screen right now. Harry Moy, is this your teammate? Hopefully. Wow, top 6k in the world, mate, doing fantastically well. Keep it up. Flecken to Henderson or Alisson? Well, you got 0.6 in the bank, so I don't know whether do you have the funds to go up to Alisson? He's 5.4, isn't he? Two safe transfers, so you probably made a couple of transfers this week, eh? Yeah, let me know what your transfers are, just so I know what you got in the bank. Yeah, man, I've got Flecken in goals. Oh, he's been killing me. Yeah, I think Crystal Palace obviously have a really nice run of fixtures, so it would. I would almost say not from next week. I'd probably say if you're going to go to Henderson, go from 19. Bournemouth they've already done 8 Maurice Robertson. Probably going to downgrade CUNHA next week if I do go to Alisson. Okay, cool, that makes sense. Yeah, look, I could easily see CUNHA still not being banned next week for the game. And Wolves have got Man United, so maybe you'd end up keeping him. But yeah, I think for me, I'd probably go to Alisson. Two reasons for that is you're probably not going to make another goalkeeper transfer for a while. And then obviously Liverpool are going to have that double game week coming up in 24-25. So I think the question for you is going to have to be like, around that time, are you going to want to have Alisson? Are you going to want to have like maybe maybe not Robbo, maybe like a Virgil van Dijk, even a Trent for the double game week? Or are you going to want to have like 2 Liverpool attackers, like a Jota and a Salah? And are you even looking to play your assistant manager chip in that double game week? If you are, then maybe like you want to use it on slot. So I think just consider that aspect, because obviously Alisson blocks one of those spots. You're not going to transfer the keeper again. For me, I think that's fine to go for Alisson. Like, I wouldn't be looking to play my assistant manager chip in those game weeks. I'd probably save it for like 31, which I talk about on my chip strategy video, which you should watch. Everyone's been loving that. A couple of 100 subscribers after that video. I should say all the game weeks that you should do all the chips. So yeah, I'd probably go for Alisson for me. Like, I think it's a difficult call, but just haven't seen. You know, Palace do have a nice run of fixtures, but just haven't quite seen enough from them defensively to go for Hendo. So I'd probably go Alisson. Just going through to that Liverpool double game week, that would be my pick. Probably going to downgrade CUNHA next week if I do go to Alisson. Yeah, CUNHA for me, I'd go down to maybe like a Wood. Elliot, I will get to you, mate. Joe Pedro, Bowen. Yeah, I'll probably go to a Chris Wood for CUNHA. They've got really nice attacking fixtures going forwards. Wood obviously the main man for fantasy FPL at the moment. Yeah, I'd probably go to Alisson. Liverpool, nice fixtures as well coming up. And to be honest, Liverpool's nice fixtures don't really stop. Like, they really go all the way to like game week 33. It's pretty good from a defensive standpoint from now, with only like Man City and Newcastle 26-27. I think it's pretty awkward for me to go Liverpool defender 100% with you on Trent because I value putting my money further forwards. Thanks, man. It's nice to hear someone else that's actually like 6k in the world saying that, because yeah, I think that's really true. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think it is awkward to go Liverpool defender. The only guy I'm looking at the moment is Diego Jota if he comes back in at number 9. So yeah, I agree. I think go to Alisson. I think that's the way to go. And yeah, man, good luck going forward. You're doing great, so keep it up. Hopefully that can sort of help you push on towards the top 1. Actually, I'm going to have a look for you how close you are to top 1k. You're 0.2 off Wood. Ooh, that's nasty. Is Wood more than Wissa? What's Wissa? Because he'd be another guy I'd think about. Wood is 6.6, Wissa 6.3. Yeah, Wissa, man. Wissa is fixture proof, man, for Brentford. I know they don't have the greatest fixtures, but I don't know. I honestly think he's fixture proof. But yeah, let's have a think about it and come back next week. We'll talk it through. I'll put my buy sell hold up, and we can talk through. Strikers to go for, because honestly, like, you could easily hold CUNHA through next week against United. He might not get banned in time. Like, he might not get banned in time for that United game, and then you got an extra week to save up another transfer. Maybe you can do a sort of double switch. So yeah, hang on to CUNHA as long as you can. In my opinion, you got nice team value. Even if he goes down 0.1 mil, probably worth hanging on to him in case you can use 2 transfers and then get to the attacker that you want. Wood going up in price tonight. Yeah, Wood is the GOAT, mate. Wood is the FPL GOAT. And I see Nick in the chat, Wissa 6.1 mil. Nick is the guy that every year has Wood in his team. And took him out a few game weeks ago and has been lamenting himself because Wood always just smashes it for him. Elliot Wong, João Pedro or Bowen, and Lewis Hall or Estepinian. Wow. Some great. Are you saying to start Elliot, or is this like to start this week, or is this like Lewis Hall transfer for Estepinian? I'd imagine the João Pedro and Bowen is like to start this week. Yeah, to start. Lewis Hall, because Ipswich have got Delap out. He's suspended up front and Hurst injured. No worries, Kay. Give us a subscribe if you like that, and a like on the video. It really helped grow my subscriber base. Appreciate you. Yeah, Elliot. I think Hall. It's a tough call because West Ham have also like been a bit poor going forwards. But yeah, I think Lewis Hall, just because Ipswich have Delap out, Hurst out. So that's their two main strikers, not being particularly good going forwards. Obviously have managed to grab some goals, reasonable in transition, but I think Newcastle are like a decent defensive setup. I'd go Lewis Hall. I do like Estepinian. I am big on Estepinian. So potentially, if you put your team in the team ID out in the chat, you can have a look at who some of your other guys are, because I'm not convinced that you can't play both of them. And João Pedro or Bowen. Oh, that's another tough one. Really, that is another tough one. I think if Bowen starts on the right wing and doesn't start as central striker, I think he's a better option. I just think he's got the potential for like. That's against Brian. Yeah, I think João Pedro just works better as a number 10 than a number 9 behind Welbeck, and he's been playing as a number 9, and Welbeck looks like he's going to be out at the moment. So, yeah, for me, I think I'd just end up going think I'd end up going Bowen. I just think João Pedro doesn't function as well up top. I think he functions better as that number 10 in behind the striker. I think if I knew if Fulkrug was going to start for West Ham, Bowen would be on the right, I'd be more happy. I think if Bowen starts up front for West Ham and João Pedro starts up front for Brighton, I'd rather go João Pedro. So it's honestly a case of tactically where they're playing for those teams. Bowen's at his best on that right wing. He has been starting that number 9 role. I just don't know how fit Fulkrug is. Just Lopetegui is so useless in those press conferences as to how fit people are. Bowen might have high bonus point base. Not if he plays number 9 though. That's the problem. That's why he's so much better in the right wing role. He's so much more involved. When he's been since Antonio's been out, his bonus point base has not been as good. He's not been involved in as much of the action. As soon as he gets over to that right wing, he's way more involved. I think he's going to start in the number 9 role. I think Fulkrug will come off the bench again. Yeah, go João Pedro, mate. Really tough call for me. I think go João Pedro. I think Bowen will start up top and move his way over to the right wing. Man, I'd really like for you to start both of them. Who the hell else have you got in the team that you can't, like, do you have like Rodgers? Just bench Rodgers. Bench Rodgers. That's too tough. Start João Pedro. I feel like Bowen didn't take the penalty last week either for West Ham, which was really annoying. Start João Pedro. Yeah, start with João Pedro. That's what I'm going to go for. I think so. Bowen might not necessarily be on penalties now, which is Piqueras probably going to start as well. So yeah, Bowen for me. 30 minutes left till deadline, guys. Chuck your team IDs in the chat. Put your transfer plans in the chat. Let me put your teams up on the screen. We'll run through them. We'll talk through benching cases. A few headaches this week, obviously. But yeah, let's get through all of you guys' comments and teams, and yeah, chuck those team IDs in, and we'll get you all up on the screen. Otherwise, I'll just run through the rest of my predictions. Leicester Wolves, both teams to score, both teams incredibly leaky at the back. I just think like it's almost a lock that both teams are going to score in that game unless someone gets absolutely slaughtered. Rude has been good for Leicester, but they have obviously been leaking goals as of last week against Newcastle. Wolves defensively have been like a bit of a shambles for a while. Maybe the new manager changes things for them a little bit, makes them a little bit more solid, but I think often it takes a little bit more time for you to implement a defensive system, as we're seeing at Man United. Brighton, West Ham, like I said, West Ham terrible in transition. I think Brighton are going to do them in transition. If West Ham were going forwards, which they were a bit cagey last week against Bournemouth, I think they were trying not to commit too many players forwards because they know they're poor in that transition area. They've got a slow team, a slow midfield, a slow defence. But yeah, I think if they do maybe play a little bit more aggressive at home against Brighton, West Ham might get caught on the counter a few times. Newcastle to keep clean sheet against Ipswich. Like I said, I think Delap out, Hurst out, Ipswich not looking great going forwards. All they've really got is that sort of transition play where Newcastle were not terrible defensively in transition. I think they will be looking good for a clean sheet this week. A couple of other things maybe to get up for you guys while we're talking about all this stuff. Maybe my watch list going forwards for the next few weeks. We can pull up onto the screen. Let's chuck this on. There's probably a couple of guys missing on here that maybe I thought about a little bit later after putting out the video. I'd say probably Munoz of Crystal Palace, but the reason I had him excluded on there is just because he was suspended this game week. Probably include him next week in my watch list sort of discussion. Other guys who have become more of an option since then, Timothy Castagna at Fulham and Ryan Sessegnon at Fulham. We'll see who starts for Fulham this week, whether they shift Robinson to the right back and play Ryan Sessegnon at left back, or whether Castagna starts at right back. I'd probably expect Castagna to start at right back and then to leave Robinson at the left back, considering how well he's been playing. but definitely some guys to consider going forwards. Diego Jota at Liverpool obviously came off the bench and scored last week for Liverpool in the league, and came off the bench again for Liverpool midweek for a few minutes. Interesting to see whether he's just fit enough to come back into the team and start. He is Liverpool's main number 9. He's Liverpool's main number 9, ahead of Nunez, ahead of Diaz. And I talked about earlier actually, like Mo Salah and Trent's FPL teams. We were reviewing them at the beginning of the season. They both had Diego Jota in their teams. They held him all the way through that one, like game week 5, where he got benched, and everyone like panic sold Jota, worried about his minutes, and then he started game week 6. Trent and Salah both had him in their team, so he is their main number 9. It's just his fitness that we have to be worried about. So I think it's like you look and see whether he starts this week for Liverpool. If he doesn't start, then he's not someone to bring in. You got to be careful of his minutes, but because they're quick and upcoming fixtures, definitely someone to look out for over the upcoming fixture run and heading towards Liverpool's double game week. Nick, I think Slot did mention Jota won't start a lot during the Christmas period because of fitness. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the case, and that's what we've got to look out for. And that's why he's on the watch list. Yeah, we just watch him over the next few weeks, see how he starts. Christian, I can do CUNHA to Raul and Rodgers to Jota. Yeah, that's nice. But again, Jimenez and Jota both sort of minutes risks. So you're subbing Rodgers and CUNHA, who are both like locked 90 minutes guys, or like locked starting guys, going to play at least 80 minutes. To Jimenez and Jota, who are both sort of risky, might start, might not start in certain game weeks, and like if they don't start, they're both going to likely to come off the bench. So yeah, I think just finishing. Look, I think Jimenez's finishing is okay. I just think Fulham not going to. He's also not the guy who scores all the goals for Fulham. Like Fulham spread their goals around a little bit. For me, it's just minutes for Jimenez. It's just minutes. Like I think he's not the worst striker in the world. He's not someone I'd want to go to. But yeah, another option outside of Jota could be on this list as well. Maddison, think about. Obviously, maybe a bit more expensive, so maybe that doesn't work for you. Actually. Yeah, Rodgers in that midfield. Yeah, some other options then, like as we'll run through, maybe we'll run through the midfielders first. In that midfield, for you to think out, Ismail Assar for Palace. Hopefully Eze's injury is short term. It didn't sound like he was going to be out long term. And he can come back in that sort of front 3, almost like 1 and 2 behind him in Mateta, Eze, Sarr for Crystal Palace. They've really started to get things together over the last few game weeks and sort of work things out. Their front trio's been a lot better. They've been working, like Mateta's dropping deep, Sarr and Eze running past, Eze's picking passes for both of Sarr and Mateta running through. So yeah, that's sort of really been working for them a little bit. Ismail Sarr's also not somebody that's is somebody that's well known for scoring FPL points. He used to be playing back in the day for Watford when they were in the Premier League. Played out on the wing for them, got plenty of FPL points there. It was a really nice option, scored goals for them as a cut price midfielder. Nice fixtures from Palace going forwards as well. After Arsenal this week, you got Bournemouth, Southampton, Chelsea, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, and then Man United, Everton. So he's a nice option going forwards. See how they go this week with no Eze. Then Iwobi. Iwobi 5.7 mil, 87, I think averaging 87 minutes a game at the moment. Looks really nice in that Fulham team, very locked in. From a tactical perspective, really involved in the progressive carries that Fulham do. So one of the teams with the most progressive carries in the league, i.e. forward dribbles up the field. Like Fulham attack at such pace. They have a lot of fast, aggressive, progressive carries. Iwobi's really involved in getting that ball up the pitch quickly for Fulham. So both with assist and goal potentials. He's having a really nice season for them. Other midfielders, Ahmad obviously started to play really well for United. I've been told from I don't know whether I can call them a reliable source, that he's going to be starting in the front three and not a right wing back this week. So let's wait and see what that United lineup is. Hopefully he goes for Bruno, Ahmad, I can't pronounce his name, Rasmus, and then maybe like Kobe and Nagate or Ericsson as two of the three in the midfield. Really nice option, cut price option. The question I think for Ahmad is whether he can become a fourth midfielder in a 3-4-3. Whether he's going to provide you enough returns to become that fourth midfielder in a 3-4-3. Targan Guna, welcome mate. You're always like last minute giving me some headache stresses in the chat. My team is Onana, Pedro Porro, Hall, Robinson, Saka, Salah, Palmer, Mbumo, Mbumo captain, Matoma, Wissa, Cunha, my bench for Brewing, João Pedro, Kirkers, 8 Nuri, and I only have one free transfer. What are you looking to do this week? So, I always love how you come in for me with a random captaincy choice and really test me. So, you've gone Mbumo against Nottingham Forest. It feels like a tough one for me to get on board with. Nottingham Forest being good defensively. I know they've conceded a few goals over the last few weeks, and Mbumo has started to play in that front two with Wissa, but I just can't be sure that Thomas Frank's going to keep that going. I think I'd captain Salah this week, man, against Spurs, against Ange, who's come out and said openly in press conferences he's not going to defend. He's going to keep going toe for toe with these teams. This has a differential. Man, I think if you're going as a differential, why not go Cunha? Why not go Cunha against Leicester or Palmer against Everton? Or even Saka against Crystal Palace. I just think they're all better options than Mbumo. My thoughts behind that, Everton, as I spoke about last week, play really like long ball football. Palmer, obviously, they're going to be attacking a lot. I know they managed to hold off Arsenal last week, so if you don't like that, then maybe that's not the one for you. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, Munoz is obviously out this week for them, so their back sort of five is rotating a little bit this week. I think a little bit of a nicer matchup for Arsenal. Saka, key part of Arsenal's offence. So yeah, potential. And then Cunha against Leicester, I mean, he's obviously not banned, so he's available. The only possible issue there is he in the right frame of mind to be playing this game week? Is the new manager thinking like he's going to be banned, so do I work out who's going to play instead of him? Ethan, I'll come to you afterwards with mate. So yeah, I think yeah, it's a tough one, man, but I just wouldn't go from Mbumo. I'm on board with your differential captaincy. For me, I'd probably go I'd go Palmer against Everton. I'll go Palmer. Palmer against Everton. And then in terms of team, I think what you're looking at here, you're missing a defence. Oh no, Hall, I love Robinson, I like. Pedro Porro Spurs against Liverpool, or like Kirkes against Bournemouth. I'd look at maybe moving Pedro Porro, with the thoughts of Cunha's probably going to move out of your team in the future, and you probably want to upgrade him to Nicholas Jackson. I don't know how much you have in the bank, Tiger and Guna. If you chuck your team ID in the chat, I'll pull your team up on the screen. And then like we can talk through, like it's a bit easier to talk through from a money perspective. To get your team ID, you go to points in FPL, check at the top what the number is in the website link, and I'll put it up on the screen. And we can talk about it. But yeah, what I'd probably suggest for you going forwards, look to move Pedro Porro down to... You got some options. So you've got, if you want to spread and have more rotation options, you can go for a Nottingham Forest defender like a Milenkovic or an Aina or a Moreno. I'd probably go Milenkovic for the corner threat. You could go for cheap option, which will be like a Castagna or a Sessegnon. We'll see. You need to, for that. You should probably see, unless you're willing to take a risk, of which I would go Castagna. He's probably most likely to start for Fulham this week. But otherwise, like Robinson might move to the right, and they might play Ryan Sessegnon at left back. Or you downgrade to maybe like an Estepinian or a Tarek Lamptey. Estepinian for safer. Tarek Lamptey, you'd obviously, I think, wait and see whether if Veltman comes back into the right back role this week or not. And then use that money to upgrade CUNHA to a Nicholas Jackson. So depending on how much money you have, and that's why I was saying put your team ID in. Yeah, I think your team would look so nice with like, or Isak. I mean, really, I'd rather Isak. If you can upgrade to an Isak, upgrade to Isak. Sorry, I missed that you had Wissa and JP. Yeah, that's probably what I'd look to do. I know you've got 8 Nuri, but you've got so many defenders that you don't really need to worry about moving him out. I'd probably look to downgrade Porro, just because I don't see him really, from an attacking perspective, picking up great positions. A little bit better now, Kulusevski's playing on the right wing. But I just think you can spread your money nicer. And there are a lot of defenders who potential for attacking returns. I think Castagna / Sessegnon can be nice. And I also think Estepinian can be really nice at the moment. I think Lamptey could be brilliant. He should be on my watch list, actually. He will be next week. Thanks for reminding me. I'll have a look to it. I can't find it. Went to points on my team and nothing else. I'll have a look. Yeah, so when you go to points in the website ID, like at the top of the screen, it has to be on a browser. It can't be on your phone. It doesn't work on a phone. In the browser, it has something like fantasy.premierleague.com/entry/ a number, normally like 6-7 digits, and then that'll be your team ID. Put it in the chat. Ethan, who should I bench between Sells and Henderson, Kirkes, Mazraoui, Milenkovic, and Larson and Smith Rowe? 3 to bench, right? 3 to bench. Making me work for my money. Palace have got Arsenal, so bench Henderson. Forest v Brentford, could keep them out. Kirkes, Mazraoui, Milenkovic. How many of them do you have to bench? Larson and Smith Rowe. Can you also, if you have your team ID, Ethan, chuck it in the chat. It's way easier to do. But Kirkes, Mazraoui, Milenkovic. Bournemouth have United, Milenkovic, 337-807. Right, let me pull you up, mate. Let me pull you up. How long have we got to the deadline? Ooh, 15 minutes. Alright, I'll be quick. So I assume you went like Colwill to Mazraoui. Milenkovic, okay. Kirkes, Cole. Who have you transferred this week, Ethan? Who have you transferred in? Moved Colwill out? Because otherwise, yeah, Colwill's got to play. And I would play Milenkovic against Brentford. And then I would play Kirkes or Mazraoui is a toss-up for me. I'll play Cole, Milenkovic, and then Kirkes, Mazraoui. Let me think about. And Larson and Smith Rowe. Oh, Larson v Leicester. Smith Rowe v Smith Rowe v Southampton. Tough again, tough. Bench Smith Rowe. Bench Smith Rowe v Southampton. Go for Strand Larson. You never know, there's a chance that CUNHA gets left out because he's not in the right mindset to play. And then Strand Larson will be on pens. So, well, possibly on pens. So, yeah, I think bench. So that is bench Smith Rowe, bench Vandenberg, It's only showing on the PC, but yeah, it does only show on the PC. Tiger and Google. That's right, mate. Yeah, sorry. So Ethan, bench Henderson, bench Smith Rowe, bench Vandenberg, and bench. Kirkus. Let's back United. Let's back United. Let's bench Kirkus. Bournemouth were quite restrained, I would say, last week. Tiger Guna, yeah, mate. So again, I don't think you need to make a transfer this week. You've obviously got a nice team, a nice setup. But yeah, going forwards, I would also play Kirkus over Pedro Porro in that team this week against United. You never know. I would say Liverpool are way more likely to score than United against Bournemouth, and I don't think that attacking returns are that big a difference. Don't think that big a difference. But yeah, going forwards, Tiger, I'll probably look to downgrade Porro to Castagna, Sessegnon, Estepinian, or who was the other guy I said? Munoz at Palace also, or who's the team that you're missing at the back? Milenkovic on a Forest defender. And then upgrade CUNHA to Isak first choice, Jackson second choice if you don't quite have the money. That's where I'd be looking to go in the future. You don't need to really do anything this week, I think if you then have 2 transfers next week, it's much better for you. Then you can make 2 changes without taking a -4. You don't need to make a defensive transfer this week. You've got a nice team there. Flexo FF, welcome back, mate. How you going? Rico Lewis start. I think Rico Lewis will start for you City this week. Ruben Diaz is out, so it's likely Guardiola's going to play centre back with probably Akanji. I think is probably back from injury. And then Walker right back, Rico Lewis left back. So I think Rico will definitely start. Cold, no worries, Tiger. Have a good week, mate. Best of luck. Hull or Colwill, Colwill, mate. Start Cold, Rogers or Enzo, FPL MFZ. Cold, who's Cold? Colwill? 4801, mate. 10 minutes to go. Is that your team ID? No way, that's your team ID. That's a well low team ID. Is that you, Mr. Nobody? FPL MFZ. Is that your team ID? Who's Cold? You start Cold, Rogers or Enzo? Is that Colwill, Rogers or Enzo? Or just Rogers or Enzo? I would start tough one. Probably start Enzo, unless you have Palmer and Jackson. I think he means the Cold celebration. Oh, sorry. Oh, Cold Rogers because he's one of the Cold. Sorry. I thought it was a player. Yeah, Cold celebration. I think I'd start. Enzo unless you have Palmer and Jackson. Then I would start Rogers. I wouldn't want to triple up on Chelsea. Hull or Colwell, Ethan? I would start. I'd start Colwell. I think Everton are like the worst attacking team for me. But if I was you, I'd try and play both of them. I don't know who else you have in your back line. If you chuck your team ID, we'll look at it. Yeah, Enzo might play deeper though. Lavo out, Kuko out. Yeah, I also think that MF said. My thoughts are just because he's on set pieces now as well, and I just think they're going to be like he's just not going to have to defend that much because Everton are just going to be playing long balls forwards. So I don't know. They might not press as high. and like Chelsea are going to keep bombing at them, and so I think Enzo's going to end up getting into the box anyway. Like, it's not like Everton are a fast transition paced team, so he might just be like he might play in the deeper role but end up in that attacking role, and they don't invert the fullback. So normally they invert a Cucurella into a 10 or a Gusto into a 10 or a Caicedo into the defensive midfield role. But I think they might just start with like Caicedo and Enzo in that defensive midfield role, and then Enzo will come forwards. We'll see. But yeah, I think Enzo is a better pick for me this week tactically. Yeah, I think they won't invert their fullbacks because I think Cucurella's not going to play. Cheers, Christian. Have a good one, mate. As a Chelsea fan, Enzo's playing a lot further up the pitch, especially without Cucu. I think he'll play in the 10. Yeah, offensively, he'll probably... Yeah, look, depends how he sets up. If he sets up with Caicedo at right back, then yeah, he will. If he sets up with Malo Gusto, maybe not. Maybe Malo will invert into the 10, and Enzo and Caicedo will play holding. I actually think Enzo will like get into that 10 role. You know how Chelsea play, right? They play actually with 2 holding midfielders, Palmer in front, in a defensive setup, and in an offensive setup, Enzo plays the attacking midfield role. I've only seen Caicedo right back with Lavia. Yeah, Lavia's fit there. He might play. Yeah, he might play with Enzo in defensive midfield, and then Caicedo inverts into defensive midfield with Lavia, and then Enzo plays attacking midfield basically when they're attacking, and that's how they press in that front 4. You think Gusto will invert? If Gusto invert, then Enzo will play a little bit deeper. If Gusto inverts into that 10, then Enzo will play a little bit deeper. Flexo, sorry, sell Mazraoui to Robinson or Johnson. Should I sell Mazraoui or Brennan? Yeah, get rid of Brennan Johnson, man. Get rid of him. He should never be in any teams. Johnson to Enzo, fine. Mazraoui, yeah, definitely Johnson out. For me, I think I've been begging Spurs to set up like this for a while. And they're finally setting up with Kulusevski on the right wing, Son on the left wing, Maddison attacking midfield. That is where they're at the most dangerous. Johnson doesn't get involved in the attack at right wing. He's just chilling there until they're counter-attacking or trying to get on the back post of Son crosses. He provides no like assist threat whatsoever. Yeah, definitely from a tactical perspective and the way Spurs set up, man, get rid of Brennan Johnson, please. Definitely would do that. Sorry to sound so certain on it, but I just think Brennan Johnson is not the one. Yeah, Ethan, I just think Enzo's the better option this week. MF said as well, you asked the same question. Yeah, I think Enzo will get forwards this week. I really do. I think he'll get forwards. Regardless of whether or not Malo Gusto inverts into the 10. I can see Everton just not posing enough attacking threat, really, that Chelsea are going to push additional players forward. Yeah. I think he might not even invert. Let's see. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the team observations. Next week we'll definitely talk about that. I'll keep a keen eye. Right guys, how long we got? 5 minutes to go. 5 minutes to go till deadline. You can see my team. I'll chuck it up on the screen somewhere. Chuck your comments down below if you need any extra help. I will of course answer the questions. That was my last week team. That is where I'm seeing this week. Let me double check. Oh, I do have Salah as captain. I think he's the one to go for this week. I think Tottenham are going to attack him. I think Lid's going to play into Liverpool's hands a little bit. But yeah, I can't hate on Ange. I love Ange, so we'll see how we go. So I realise I'm covering captaincy with my face, with my fixtures. Let's get that out of the way. Any final questions, guys? Last 5 minutes. The games are on a bit earlier today, so that's ideal because I can watch Man City, Aston Villa easily at 11:30 in Oz. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe if you've been enjoying my commentary and you think I've given you some good Robinson, Gabriel, Colwell, Hall, Athan, Flecken or Fabianski. Flecken or Fabianski. Ooh, tough one. Brentford have been so terrible. Go Fabianski, save point. If not, I don't think they'll either keep a clean sheet. I think Brighton will have more shots, possibly from distance, maybe more save points for Fabianski. Knowing Forest, if they shoot, they're probably going to score. Robinson, Hall, Gabriel, Colwell, bench. Who? Definitely play Colwell, definitely play Hall. Maybe Southampton, Arsenal v Palace. Ooh, that's so tough. Play Gabriel. Play Gabriel. Bench Robinson. Bench Robinson. That's so hard, man. Yeah, bench Robinson. Reasons being, Colwell v Everton. Everton just shambles in forwards. That's what I'd go for. I know Chelsea have conceded before, but Gabriel, just Arsenal, good defence. It's hard to not play Gabriel. Hall, Newcastle v Ipswich. Ipswich are missing Delap. He's suspended this week. Hurst is also injured, so that's their two main strikers not playing. Ipswich really just in transition are going to be a threat. Fulham v Southampton. You know, maybe Southampton are a little bit better with this new manager. I do like Robinson. If I'm honest, I'd love to play all four of them. Like, they're all good options. And if you have like a Morgan Rogers, like, yeah, no, I'd still bench one of them. I'd bench Robinson. That'd be my call for this week, mate. Guys, not long to go. 2 minutes. Please lock in your teams. Please lock in your teams now. No time to go. Last minute questions. Quick in the chat. I'll quick fire answer. Anything that comes up. There's about a 7-second delay. 8-second delay, so be quick. If you've enjoyed this stuff, subscribe to the channel, please. I'm trying to grow. Small channel, still growing. Athan UN, same answer to you, mate. If I didn't answer that before, Bench Robinson, Gabriel, Colwell. Sorry if I missed it earlier. All or Colwell to bench, yeah, crazy. Yeah, really tough decision defensively. Some of you got some really good defenders this week. Alright, 1 minute, lock it in, almost there. Sub to the channel, like the video, help us out. Thank you for watching. Am I going to stick around? I'm probably not going to stick around. 10 o'clock here, I could stick around for a little bit. But no, I'm keen to go get some dinner in because I started at like 7, haven't really had dinner, it's 10 o'clock. So get some food down me, and yeah, hope for a good game week for everyone. We're almost over the line. Lock your teams, guys. 1 minute. Make it too late to make transfers now. There we are. Deadline has passed. Deadline has passed. Good luck to everybody for this game week. Thank you to everyone who viewed the stream. It's been a really good stream. We've really enjoyed having all of you on. Answering all the questions, thinking through moves. Tune in for a bunch of nice videos next week. We'll be doing the watch list, we'll be doing transfer plans, we'll be doing buy, sell, hold. Transfer plans will probably be like tactical observations and like transfer plans. Then we'll be doing the watch list and buy, sell, hold, hopefully over the next few days, over Christmas time, and then we'll be doing the live stream for Thursday, I think it is. Is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday, next game week, so we will be live streaming for that. Don't forget midweek, game week, so yeah, check out the content in the week, it will be quick and fast. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great week. Good luck to everyone. This is your FPL English Aussie signing out. Have a great week, everyone.